kept searching.
And searching.
There are so many choices.
It's really hard to find one that has all the things on my list.
But I finally did it.
Yes, yes, yes.
Thank you.
If you were looking for one as well,
Look no further.
Here's a really good one.
just use mine.
Use mine.
I'm very satisfied.
Definitely recommend.
Problem gone.
Thank you.
I've had this problem.
Big problem.
I really need it.
A good videographer.
And I kept searching.
And searching.
There are so many choices.
It's really hard to find one that has all the things on my list.
But I finally did it.
Yes, yes, yes.
Thank you.
If you were looking for one as well,
Look no further.
Here's a really good one.
just use mine.
Use mine.
I'm very satisfied.
Definitely recommend.
20 of the richest people in America made their fortunes focusing on a single stock long term. And they're not alone. Life-changing fortunes, even generational wealth, has been made by those who got in on the right stock early enough. And if you click here now, Chief Investment Strategist
Juba! Anumba! I love it. As generous as we are, Africa we are blessed. We have everything, but we are too generous. The stranger brought us bottles and took our culture. Himuye, we go do how now. As powerful as we are, Africa we are blessed. We have everything, but we are too tolerant. White man bring we bottle, take what people go. Alright. Okay. We go do how now. That's how this thing be start. They come here with the bottle. We will give them jungle. How we will too over humble. They enter, discover what people smart, skilled, creative, innovative, fast, tall, wonderful, powerful, giants, courageous, outrageous, riches, wisdom, freedom, love. Them start to calculate we be there, we know the wise. Then say we go, then a fake fool we give them, they go to mom. Then say we too over strong, get sense, carry our people, go sell out. What if we go do? Oh, what if we go do? Oh, they don't carry our people go overseas. So can you get the rule? Are you get the rule? Alinea that was no do show. As generous as we are, Africa we are blessed. We have everything, but we are too generous. The stranger brought us bottles and took our culture. Himuye, we go do how now. Full as we are, Africa we are blessed. We have everything, but we are too tolerant. White man bring we bottle, take what people go. Himuye, we go do how now. Lontumbo, lontum the year one oh, mami tumbo, you tease into me, hey, aninko, you show bimbia oh, imuye, mami say tonga kole oh. As generous as we are, Africa we are blessed. We have everything, but we are too generous. The stranger brought us bottles and took our culture. Himuye, we go do how now. As powerful as we are, Africa we are blessed. We have everything, but we are too tolerant. White man bring we bottle, take what people go. Himuye, we go do how now. As generous as we are, Africa we are blessed. We have everything, but we are too generous. The stranger brought us bottles and took our culture. Himuye, we go do how now.
Bang cái đi chơi cô sĩ về là tráng gì nhầm mình đi vào phần ra. Quý đã mới đủ về món đồ ăn.
You high?
No.
Bifendae, kadu yenyu bifendae. We will be kwe kadu yenyu bifendae. We will be kwe kadu yenyu bifendae. Oh, kilo bifendae. You left us so kilo duamba. Yelelelelele duamba. Where do I take me go be?
Hey, 27 my birthday on 17 August 3 o'clock in the morning. Can't forget that the day was a Monday. I burned the weed from my no light just a blonde. We chatted one last time when I become I was on the shop. I asked how your skin and you tell me chat. And after that now it's a different story. No man no go use like I reach for heaven. Please thank that my my grandma miss you too. I know when I deal with us always in spirit watching is out the day I'll be here forever in all your memories forever live. I pray the Lord your rest.
Started from the burden, but you end your journey halfway. Crying up to God, how you got me feeling this way. The love and passion you had for the music, no be ever play. Remember how we drink, smoke, knock beat like every day. Last we had together, don't delay because you know today. But God knows why you had to go before you start the pay. Even though no day for record song, kill all this this away. With all this great work, this shut down, cut your cafe.
We all need one another. Every day, Monday, they suffer. I'm chasing this money to pay all the bills and buy a crib back for me. Say, I don't believe what this skizzy cut up for me. After this hustle every day, why you want live when I this way?
Bifendae, kadu yenyu bifendae. We will be kwe kadu yenyu bifendae. We will be kwe kadu yenyu bifendae.
Kemike, amkobawe, kilo, wachi bake bambo kunko. Linji chane, kade kir bugango bien yewe ningo mnane ambo anonge. Rest in peace, Rudolph Ngwa. Dola yeri tefo de kopti dine weri. Yoma, chiwane bifende, kilo ufi win.
Kola jeto nosha, mwewe mingo yo banja. Se avanro vampa, rest in peace to area killer. Wemo village koka, that's why I don't deceive. No way oh bam bam ta, eh. I can't believe, say you don't go so soon. Now what I see, I wanna see you again. I wanna see you again.
Mwesi bikwe, ka doyenyu, ka mami ka ba, kanda ka mu. Mem kwa ne, wem chisonga ko chuba ne kilo afem teni ayo wani nyua. I dey see you all time as you dey fly for sky. As you look down for me and then I catch a smile. Then you say my trees, everything will be alright. Cause I always be by your side,
if you can find some peace, just trying to make it last. Said I do be happy today, tomorrow's not guaranteed. Oh, for all our loved ones that have gone before us, we better a better place, so we will meet again. Peace, my
Bifendae, kadu yenyu bifendae. We will be kwe kadu yenyu bifendae. We will be kwe kadu yenyu bifendae.
Ako face my and Rochester. Angel them could sing after Vespa. Every little thing, even little matter. I just want make you pour me holy water. Make we cherish them when me they play me rhythm and blues. Make you call me a friend when me put on me dancing shoes. On my way play me something calypso, something way could it make me diffuse. Make the DJ just put them on replay till we see the ending of each day. Now which way? And now which day? Till we see the ending of each day.
Yama with kushini, kushishi bonbon me funny we, kushishi bonbon me song ni we. Just when him from now we be kuchachichi. Yata with kushini, kushishi bonbon me funny we, kushishi bonbon me song ni we. Just when him from now we be kuchachichi.
From dust we came, to dust we shall return. If the worlds you gain, your soul shall burn. And if the wages of sin is actually dead, your sins were not enough to have left the world yet. The news was such a blow, we lost a heart of gold. You more than a host of pros running today's shows. Your pay setting contribution shall be remembered till we meet again. Rest in peace, little brother.
No way you judge it, but see be quick, I know you will be chamber, but don't imagine your name and see. The bounce chup diega puwe. The bounce chup diega puwe.
J'ai bon weba me boule. We kone yondap. Dam bom bom ba me boule. Fura. Dolamba, dolamba, dolamba. We do I do telengo bi. Fen lamba, fen lamba, fen lamba. Fen la do yo kuntombi. We do I do temengo bi.
Where you mean dab your tar, as a comb bed, Busu and Masina, would a day I could tell me a dory, Wem do Jesse, a big cigar, Sumurka, you tell me always bar, Merina Yasalon, Query, Cabanim go making the quick, one put a lungum. But it is what it is. You were special, wouldn't cry legend, I celebrate you. Got a lot of brothers, but you were extra. Yeah, never left the gap, you took me to space. Many questions to ask, but I just have to say grace. Anytime I think of you people, they know for my face. I guess something will tell you why we meet the face to face. Yeah. NBO Kane, Bad Rock,
Insobu life! Insobu life!
Tarh for brigade.
Insobu life! Life!
Tarh for brigade. Infime. You are under the command of Field Marshal Insobu. A very deadly attack here in Kumbu town. This attack was led by General General Tokandu. His life in the field. His life in the field. That's what I do. That's what I do. That's what I do.
I've had this problem.
Big problem.
I really needed
A good videographer.
And I kept searching.
And searching.
There are so many choices.
It's really hard to find one that has all the things on my list.
But I finally did it.
Yes. Thank you.
If you were looking for one as well,
Look no further.
Here's a really good one.
Just use mine.
Use mine.
I'm very satisfied.
Definitely recommend.
Problem gone.
Thank you.
I've had this problem.
Big problem.
I really needed
A good videographer.
And I kept searching.
And searching.
There are so many choices.
It's really hard to find one that has all the things on my list.
But I finally did it.
Yes. Thank you.
If you were looking for one as well,
Look no further.
Here's a really good one.
Just use mine.
Use mine.
I'm very satisfied.
Definitely recommend.
Problem gone.
Thank you.
I've had this problem.
Big problem.
I really needed
A good videographer.
And I kept searching.
And searching.
There are so many choices.
It's really hard to find one that has all the things on my list.
But I finally did it.
Yes. Thank you.
If you were looking for one as well,
Look no further.
Here's a really good one.
Good evening, fellow Amazonians. Ladies and gentlemen, you're welcome to this very special broadcast. I apologize for the late start. I normally was supposed to start at least 30 minutes before this time, but we had quite an elaborate newscast this evening with an undaunted crew. It was amazing. They went into deep subjects that I thought was imperative to make some clarifications. We are streaming live globally, particularly on the home front, and the feedback we're getting with the team is quite encouraging. As you can see on the caption, we'll be talking this evening why Coupers and the allied forces with Joe Ayaba actually killed Insobu. It's going to be a fusion with the outing of the Secretary of State for Communications and IT, Dr. Martin Mungwa. I'm sure he will be connecting really very soon. So I have to take this a little bit quick. I actually was preparing on Friday in the evening, trying to connect Horizon Live. And the plan was for me to come immediately after for some briefings. And as I was doing that planning at the background, I received a call from Kemi Ashu with a heavy voice, and I would say a grieving voice, announcing the passing of Field Marshal Insobu. It was shocking. I thought perhaps it was one of those rumors until she forwarded the video. And at that time, I was actually just planning to shave. Please forgive me if I'm not looking very clean, but maybe I should shave after Friday. Since then, I've not been able to shave. You all know Field Marshal Insobu. Why did he die? The reason why he would die, a youth who has bravely picked up weapons against forces of occupation, against the oppressors in our land, has been slaughtered by those purporting to be his own for no other reason. Forget about the falsehood, the calculated lies, reasons as to why they want to tell you that he was not what they thought. Insobu's crime was because he has decided to stand for people and not for warlords. Insobu chose people, the people's government, choose to serve his people, despise warlords. So Yaoundé, allied forces with some Coupers and Joe Ayaba have plotted and have been plotting for 2 years to erase Insobu. I'm not the one saying it. They said it themselves. We have it in record. They actually saying so, that Insobu was their target. After many attempts, failed attempts, I would say, they got him. What is baffling is the fact that the energy they would spend to kill an Amazonian fighter, fighting to protect his people, to defend his women from rape, is appalling. If these allied forces could spend just 10% of their energy and time and resources on Yaoundé, I'm sure we would have been miles closer to Boya. But unfortunately, power mongers took our own. We have taken this arrogance very seriously. And we know the killers of Insobu. We know those who were the minders who started the project and how the team grew up. The reason why they could finally get him was because when they started, they got insiders involved in their crusade. I'm going to take you down when this plan started. But before I do that, I want it to go on record today. Keep it. Priest J. Carl has told you, I saw it on a screenshot, that the reason why he and his friends, some activists in Europe, decided to kill Insobu is because Insobu is for Dr. Sako. And by some illusion that they're going to take some power away from Dr. Sako and have failed to do so, they would want to kill Insobu. Prince Jeka said it. It has gone down history. What he didn't know he was saying. He said, Insobu died because Dr. Sako loves power. Let me break that down to you. What he didn't know, I can justify this in any court. And the day we finally get to Boya, when we finally get to Boya, not if, people like him would definitely be in jail. Because he did not just kill Insobu. He said, I killed him because I want to take power away from Dr. Sako. That is what he said. I didn't say so. When he came out to say Insobu died because Dr. Sako lost power, what he didn't realize he was telling us is that we that want Sako out of power, we have killed Insobu because we want to weaken him. Where he has just been tamed by the Norway cabal. Now I want to get down to history, how this thing. You had some arrogant fellows who thought that they had been in a struggle for 30 years or so. They are liable to some entitlement. And you can now understand why they failed all over 30 years. These are men for 30 years had opportunities to help Amazonian or Southern Cameroonian refugees. I don't want to call some of their names, you know them, the Norway guys and the demented Confucianists who now want to call every other person a Johnny just come in the struggle. We have facts how they abandoned, they had opportunity to resettle Southern Cameroonian refugees from Nigeria years ago, decades ago. They would abandon Southern Cameroonian refugees, not have money to take Burmese, to take French Cameroonians. So the betrayer of these individuals, I'm talking about Ayaba and his friends, who think that because of some 30 years, whatever, they have some entitlement, didn't start today. These guys abandoned Southern Cameroonians. We know of them. We have them. They are willing to testify. They abandoned them in Nigeria years ago and resettled Burmese, Bulus. The United Nations gave them opportunity. So those who did not have money, Southern Cameroonians who did not have enough money to be a part of the program, they helped Burmese and abandoned Southern Cameroonians in Nigeria. Took money from some and abandoned them. So it didn't start today. For 30 years, these guys will be wobbling somewhere around, purporting whatever I don't know. If you go down history, what Von Gogin Dinka has done for Amazonia, none of them did so. Where this mindset, this inclination of entitlement is coming from, only God knows. In 2016, when our generation took stance, internationalized the struggle like never before, they resurfaced and gave themselves titles. They resurfaced and made themselves lords over us, telling us stories about their present terms, their school days, what they did, what they didn't do, and why we should all listen to them. What some of us failed to realize, that even believed in them in those early days, is that we did not see what they had achieved. We didn't seem to see that they were confused even in their strategy. They didn't have strategy. Time has proven us, has tested positive, that these guys were failures. And God had to raise new leaders for this struggle. I gave this brief history to explain to you what some of their grievances are. They have some playboys like Sheikh Kavi, and now some tame fellow they want to call, what's this guy's name? I pray I don't even remember the name. Vela Franklin has been tamed by them. He's another ignorant. When you see him making a statement that Bowie is now born again, it's because that spirit of evil, wickedness, has been communicated to him. And so as a son of Bowie, he will plot to kill his own brothers because of an illusion that his master, his mentor, is entitled to some leadership position. President Sisiko tried, as chairman of the governing council, tried to bring some senses. Even within the consortium, the Kintaza and Wilfred didn't find it easy with these individuals that felt that everybody had to listen to them. And the governing council, they had plotted to dismantle it. After the fourth conclave, some of them left Nigeria with grievances, and they told us of a reboot. They told us that after the reboot, there will be nothing like the interim government that was decided upon during the fourth conclave. In fact, Cho Ayaba made speeches. His vice president, spokesperson at the time, a certain Amabo girl, I think Celine or Cecilia Amabo, said it. They said Cho Ayaba is on a project to dismantle the interim government. He presented himself with, I have been briefed at that time, as a mastermind for self-defense. Self-defense in Amazonia at the time was some cinema, Rambo. It was a Facebook fraud with Photoshop images of fighters that do not exist anywhere. These guys picked some few individuals, friends, paid them with money to kidnap and kill people. Their concept of self-defense was a destruction in our history. I'm giving you the history of what has happened. That the confused individual, also called Anu, suddenly became evangelized into. I'm coming, just be patient. Now, when they failed to dismantle the interim government of President Sisiko, that was very short-lived, and they attempted with Dr. Sako and failed. You are aware, Dr. Sako came in office 3 months later. Self-defense in the Federal Republic of Amazonia became a reality. Within only 3 months, close to 30,000 volunteers, home front, were mobilized. How else can a visionary explain himself? And he didn't leave them out. He created ASC and told them, okay, you want to do self-defense, let's do it together. I know how to make the money. Put your groups together. Let's beat these guys. Our interest. I quote the president's speech. That was, I think, his second speech. He says, this is the time for us to bring in our best fighters, our best fights. We need to put it now. The president said so. It was not just a word service. He went around to mobilize the Sofonchas, the Yingfu Sangongs, Cho Ayabas, the Kwangas. Everyone was invited to be a part of this body. All they needed was to coordinate volunteers, and the money will be given to them. But Mr. Cho Ayaba and his friends thought that was not enough. They thought that they needed more. And therefore, instead of allowing us to focus to kill the enemy, they would destroy. But they targeted our soldiers. They targeted our vigilante groups. They targeted volunteers. Young men who have shown bravery more than them. Demented Confucianists. These were recalcitrants in the university. And whatever they did, none of them had shown the bravery of these guys, picked up arms. These guys confronted Yaoundé, a criminal setup. They picked up arms. With their bare hands, they confronted a well-trained army with knives and sticks and cutlasses and dead guns. They inspired the diaspora to donate. And Mr. Cho Ayaba has been on a mission to dismantle, to discourage, to intimidate. This is where it started. In 2018, Cho Ayaba employed Lucas Asso to manipulate Amazonians that he was a neutral guy so that he could organize. It's all about, it has been all about power. Him trying to do everything to get power. Manipulating a setup in the diaspora, picking the ladies of Bo Herbert in his group at the time. You know all of them, the Formikis. Got all of them together and tried to create riot in the diaspora, and he failed. Amazonians had seen in his eyes that he's a dishonest man and have denied that he was not going to lead them. But this man has chosen to oppress Amazonians. He wants to impose himself against all odds. So what is he doing? Positioning himself as a warlord. He would freely sell and cheaply sell to Yaoundé. He would rather that the struggle doesn't make progress if he is not the person at the helm. I told you a few days ago that whatsoever was called, I told you, some of you doubted to me. I told you whatever is called, the unity was a fraud. I could see it coming. I know Cho Ayaba. I've known him for long. I've known him way before 2016. Some Coupers were ignorant from the onset. They didn't know. I also told you that Chris Arno is a very poor communicator. I said it before. I'm going to come to that. A few days ago, he was managing to tell some people that the Unity Warriors, whatever, like seriously. We have videos of Chris Arno as an attempt to sabotage the efforts of President Sako, telling us that the way forward are the Unity Warriors. Chris Arno said so. Prince Jeka said so. Nanchop said so. The Coupers said so. It was their project. Now, because they knew that they were getting close to assassinating Insobu, Chris Arno comes now to deceive you to believe that he's not part of the plot to kill Insobu. No, he is. This was how great Insobu was. Yaoundé had to use Mbankwi, Cho Ayaba, Chris Arno, Prince Jekal, all of them. In fact, Prince Jekal said it himself that I killed Insobu because I want to get Sako out of power. That is what he's supposed. That's why he doesn't know. He didn't know that is what he was saying. We have that as exhibit. It's exhibit A. Chris Arno calls the fighters. Now you have Reverend Assom calling the fighters to derail them. The same people you kill. So what is their strategy? They want to intimidate. They want to instill fear. They want to instill fear. But I want to tell you, Amazonians, something. I want to talk to my brothers watching from the home front. Do not fear these guys. They are weak men. Only weak men are warlords. Out of arrogance, they have turned their guns against you instead of Yaoundé. It's arrogance. They have taken our civility for weakness. Do not allow that to intimidate you. They have taken the state of enemy forces. And the same bravery you demonstrated in 2016 and 2017, the bravery you took on the forces of occupation, that same energy is still in you. They want to kill some more. Their idea is to kill Insobu and to frighten others to join, obligatorily join their so-called unity warriors. If President Biya could intimidate you, then they will intimidate you. If the Franco-Cameroon forces could intimidate you, then they will intimidate you. But since Cameroon has failed to intimidate you, they cannot intimidate you. We have taken note about it, and they're going to see the results in the days ahead. ADF forces with no fear of contradiction are enemy forces. We've seen what they've done in Guzang. We've seen what they attempted to do in Lebialem. We've seen what everywhere they are. A few days ago, Capo Daniel was trying to justify a killing of a civilian on Bengui Road. That is what they are expert in doing. Slaughtering and killing our people. It was not a random killing. It was not an error. It was a targeted killing. When Cameroon forces are raping and killing our people, ADS is doing exact same. Have you ever heard that a force loyal to Dr. Sako goes around to maim, intimidate fighters and camps to join them? No. Dr. Sako used a holistic method. He said, listen to me. If you will fight against Yawunde, I will fund you. That's an unapologetic method. That is a civil method. He has proven that times without number. With ASC, he did so. They betrayed him from China in Europe, took the monies and claimed fighters, owned the fighters. They own the fighters. Dismantle the setup, but the strategies re-strategized. We saw for 2 years what draft did to the nation of Amazonia. We saw it. I'm not saying it. I'm not fabricating it. You saw it. One would expect that anyone fighting for the nation would just come and fight. Why is Cho Ayaba and his criminal forces interested in uniting forces on the ground when he has denied any form of unity abroad? If it is not his way, it is the highway. If it is not Cho Ayaba's way, it is not good for Amazonia. So he has given it into Yaoundé because of his ego. This is the same man who goes to London to mortgage the resources of Amazonia without consulting any leader. This same leader, I wonder how a youth can even trust him. The same man who tells women in Amazonia, fighting for the nation, that he's going to smoke them. We have it in record. We cannot flee from the tyranny of Yaoundé into the tyranny of Cho Ayaba. I want to announce to him today that he's too small, not this generation. Amazonians, listen to me. They killed Insobu. Forget about the justification Anu is giving. Anu does not know communication. It's a mistake. He has contradicted himself more than 50 times on his platform. We don't even have time to compare the videos. It's a waste of time. And perhaps before I conclude on this, let me just bring something to your attention before we transition into the office of the Secretary of State for Communication. I want to bring something to your attention really very quickly. When Chiruma was Communication Secretary of Cameroon, he was animating the place, moving from one media house to another, threatening journalists. He was a fun timer. He made fun. He was a comedian. He was not a communicator. He was a liar and a comedian. And even some Amazonians liked him because of comedy. His method of communication created a lot of problem for Yaoundé, for Cameroon. It is either he will be in Al Jazeera quarreling with Bobga Harmony, or in Canada threatening a female journalist. That was Chiruma for you. And those who do not understand the technology, the science of communication, felt that he was a communicator. He was a flop. Strategists in France saw that Chiruma was not going to deliver for them what they wanted. And they advised Cameroon to put a strategist, a technocrat, a René Sadi in office. René Sadi was a technocrat. He deceived Sisiko into Nera and picked him up like a rat. Now let me tell you how René Sadi was a strategist. When René Sadi came, look at the international media. The narrative of our story changed until the time René Sadi took over office. Until today, you still have international media struggling to even say that they are trying to say about 3,000 above have been killed. This is something Chiruma could not achieve for Cameroon. He could make all the noise, but he could not achieve this. Why do I say this? Some of us are still living in the shadows of Arno, the noisemaker. That you have a big mouth, trying to make for yourself a career in the struggle, doesn't make you a communicator. And do not try to drag Secretary Mungwa into his shadows. Secretary Munga is not an anchor man. He's not a newscaster. He's not a TV host. He's the Secretary of State for Communications and IT. He's not going to do a ping pong on the social media with Chris Arnold. I know a lot of people get excited. A few days ago, someone brought a message to me that Chris Arnold is reporting this to Ground Zero, blah, blah, about quarter heads. And you are just excited that he's informing people about quarter heads, that they're taking bribe and bribing our people. That is not new. That is not news. Listen, I've learned from Dr. Sako. Understanding not to take things to the extreme of negativity. We need our quarter heads to win this war. Quarter heads that am I saying that some of them are not bribing or taking bribes? No. But there is a method of communication. That's with your big mouth. If you turn the quarter heads against the people, against the quarter heads, you are not a technician. These same quarter heads were among those who pick up peace plans on the 22nd of September. It is not today Cameroon started bribery. They have three strategies. They come to you to intimidate you, or to bribe you, or to kill you. So are we going to turn against all people because they happen to be victims at any point? You need a technician to communicate rightly. We're not going to do that kind of communication on ABC Amber TV. Please, we're sorry. We will not do that. Secretary Mungwa is on a mission during such a time to do proper communication to the international community, not noise making. So I'm uncomfortable with the way Arno was communicating. He was making a lot of mistakes. Look at his has no editorial policy. He comes there in the morning, says something else, and in the evening, he says something else. Today, he's endorsing Unity Warriors. Tomorrow, he's not endorsing it. He shouts every day with his big mouth, and he's saying no sense. I've told you, if you compress everything he says, it's not. So stop living in the shadow of whatever he says. It's a waste of time. Out of his insense, he got swindled in by Mbankwi. He was lofty in his head to think that he had some resources. And then he wanted to sway the struggle. But he failed. Whatever he's doing now is a shadow of himself. Whatever they're doing, they have failed And whatever they thought they were going to do unconstitutionally, now they want to intimidate you, but you're going to rise up. I have confidence in you. Do you know why I have confidence in you? Because who you are, or who you were, and what you were in 2016 has brought us to today. And I'm excited in our future. When I look at the spirit that is inside you, I'm excited in our future. You're going to beat the enemy forces of ADF out of your communities from every LGA. You beat them out. You will beat their arrogance out of Amazonia. You will beat the Coupers out. When Reverend Asson calls you, you shut her up. How can you even think that a woman who could manage Faku, who has denied to be accountable, you guys raised close to 60,000 US dollars and gave to her. She swindled it, created chaos in Faku, and today, proxy by a certain bedroom in London, they are presenting her as whatever nonsense jargon. You should be a fool to even think that a person who could barely manage a county can manage a state during a wartime. This arrogance in Amazonia has got to stop, and it will stop. We will either stop it peacefully or we will stop it forcefully. I'm saying if Yaoundé could not intimidate us, these individuals will not intimidate us in their folly. We will beat them. Believe you me, we will beat them. One of these days, they will know what I'm talking about.
Hello?
Enough of the arrogance. Right now, I'm going to be transitioning into the office of the Secretary of State for Communications and IT, who has some briefings to give to you. Stay tuned.
Global greetings to all Amazonians. Today is April the 12th. I come to you with a very heavy heart. We know that one of our finest, Field Marshal Insobu, is dead. He was ambushed and killed a couple of days ago. I wish to report to you that from now until Saturday, the flags shall be at half-mast. Because Saturday is a day of mourning for Insobu. It's also a national emergency fundraising day. And I would like to take this opportunity to extend my condolences to the family of Field Marshal Insobu. Field Marshal Insobu has been temporarily replaced by General Tokando. So let's all come on Saturday for this national emergency fundraiser in order to show to the world what Insobu meant to us. I'm not going to dwell on that because more of it will come next Saturday. Now, today I'm going to talk about some very important things that are happening in La Republique and how it affects us, either now or in the future. You must have seen the schedule. For today, I'm going to talk about the most destructive economic policy that La Republique has ever known. And this is not new, and I'm going to trace it from 200 years ago to what we experience today. So in the middle of the French Revolution, which began in 1789 and ended in 1799, African slaves and free people of color launched the Haitian Revolution in 1791, led by a former slave and the first general of the French army, Toussaint Louverture. After 12 years of conflict, Napoleon Bonaparte's army was defeated and the Republic of Haiti proclaimed her independence on January 1st, 1804. The Republic of Haiti and the Dominican Republic share the same island of Hispaniola in the Caribbean Sea, located to the east of Cuba. This proclamation in 1804 created the Republic of Haiti as the first independent nation of Latin America and the Caribbean. In fact, Haiti was the first free republic in the Americas, the first country in the Americas to abolish slavery, and the only state in history established by a successful slave revolt of African descent. 20 years earlier, the United States had just liberated herself from Great Britain and instantly recognized the Republic of Haiti as a sovereign nation. In the humiliation of defeat, Imperial France sent ships to surround and blockade Port-au-Prince, the capital of Haiti, and to stop any and all trading with the United States and free nations of the world. To uplift the French blockade, France imposed on a small island a merciless reparation of $21 billion in today's money, which the country could not pay until the late part of the last century. Consequently, Haiti was unable to accumulate earnings and unable to develop her economy compared to her neighbors, who include the birthplace of Bob Marley, Jamaica, with a per GDP income of $5,600, Dominican Republic, per capita GDP of $8,200, Barbados, a per capita GDP of $18,600, and the Virgin Islands, a per capita GDP of $31,700. Now, just compare that to La République, which is $1,500. Fellow Ambazonians, the effect is that Imperial France held the Haitian people and the economy hostage to the extent that today, Haiti remains one of the least developed nations in the Caribbean. Why do we tell you this story? There is a close similarity between the zebra called France is merciless. France makes a beautiful zebra but cannot be trusted for the same reason that the horse and not the zebra were domesticated. A zebra bites. France bites your resources in many ways. 1. Theft or expropriation of resources. Permit me to start by looking at the money earned by selling crude petroleum produced from oil wells in the sea offshore Indian County, Amazonia. Our analysis is mainly based on an international research paper by the World Bank published in January 2011, entitled Governance and Oil Revenues in Cameroon by two authors from Canada, Mr. Bernard Gauthier and Albert Zefak. Here is a summary which includes projections. Cameroon oil sales between January 1970 and December 2021 accounts for $75 billion. Oil producing companies have pocketed $11.2 billion. Cameroon has received $32 billion. France has received $32 billion under terms of the December 26, 1959 Secret Cooperation Treaty, which I discussed with you last week. As far back as 2011, when the World Bank completed its study, the whereabouts of about 54% of Cameroon's oil income could not be explained. The World Bank report stated that 54% was not properly accounted for and may have been looted. Dear Ambazonians, the money has been looted by France. The money is at the French treasury. I will publish the reference for you to go and read it yourself online. With $32 billion locked in a French bank, how can Cameroon afford to import steel to build bridges across rivers in order to connect the economy? 2. The secret treaty, cooperation treaty signed between La République and France is a colonial debt for the enslavement of La République citizens and thievery of resources, timber, minerals, and petroleum. This is what it means. After the defeat of Nazi Germany by the Allies, La République was handed over to France, who enslaved La République citizens and in exchange for their liberty, granted limited independence. France imposed a colonial tax for the use of her language, French, by French Cameroonians. Ambazonians do not have any such burdens. Since Cameroon gave away her sovereignty to France in that cooperation treaty in 1959, the territory has no sovereignty to share with Ambazonia. We restored our sovereignty in 2017 and have no choice but to fight to the logical end. France and Cameroon have behaved immorally by stealing over $64 billion from Ambazonia. And we think France is a people with a moral compass. But the real question is, since we all know France did not have any jurisdiction over Ambazonia, why are we paying this colonial tax? Why do we need French in our territory? Is this the price for Dion Gute, Philemon Yang, Peter Musonge, and the others to communicate with their masters in broken French? A language the vast majority of Ambazonians do not comprehend, and yet Frundi, Paul Tasson, Ofi Chinje, Peter Musonge, Tabe Tando, members of parliament, senators, ministers, and the rest think this is the best direction for Ambazonia. Perhaps if France was business-minded, they would have allowed Haiti to develop economically, to create the sort of leverage which Britain enjoys within the Anglophone world. By stifling Haiti's economy, France shot itself on the foot and now depends on Nigeria, and other non-French speakers for economic uplift. This is France's economic strategy for you. Imagine if Britain did the same to India, South Africa, Australia, New Zealand, Singapore, Malaysia, Hong Kong, Nigeria, Kenya, Ghana, Canada, and even the United States. What would the world today look like? They have not learned from their past mistakes. Today, English is the dominant language in business, science, and technology, championed by the United States, a former British colony. France, since the time of President Mitterrand, continues to lower the age at which English language must be taught to children in France. Dear Ambazonians, who has not noticed the fluency of the current French President Macron in national language of Ambazonia, English? In Cameroon, on the other hand, the French embassy provides incentives to Cameroon schools that teach all subjects in French, thereby flagrantly interfering in national governance. Schools in our country, Ambazonia, have had to look after themselves, but thanks to the United States government for providing Peace Corps offices since 1962. It could have been Haiti leading the world in business in the French language. Instead, we've had 200 years of wasted opportunities marked by colossal grabbing of Haitian foreign earnings. But is it too late for Ambazonia? France controls the sovereignty of Cameroon and determines political priorities for that country, French Cameroon. France, therefore, has to decide, or the world will. 3. From Haiti to La République and now Ambazonia, France's imperial policy of economic expropriation will continue unabated. All historical and political arguments favor complete and total independence for Ambazonia. La République has neither a counter-argument nor ability to resolve the root causes because she destroyed the federation between 1972 and 1984. Last week, I explained to you how Paul Biya changed the name of the failing federation into La République in order to comply with the name used in the December 26, 1959 Cooperation Treaty. So what will French Cameroon do? Apply the self-destructive economic principle? A mango does not fall far from the tree. They have resorted to bribery, corruption, and sabotage. Is this not consistent with French colonial policy? They bribed chiefs in Oku to kill the local fighters. Now they are doing the same in the Atlantic and Midlands regions of Ambazonia through the Stanford-trained civil engineer Peter Musonge. What would Stanford say if they realize that a genocide war is being sponsored by one of its illustrious alumni. But remember, these so-called Anglophones elite are despised for the mere fact that they speak English. If the French despise French Africans, what about Anglophones, especially when your fellow Francophones call you Anglophones? Imagine a PM who is appointed with his ministers and he knows he has absolutely no powers, yet he gladly champions the charade to kill his own brethren. He is not considered a bona fide citizen in a country that is officially a French vassal state. These are the proverbial slave drivers. Their masters, La République, gives them money to go and kill their countrymen. Philemon Yang, Dion Gute, Peter Musonge, Fru Ndi, Paul Tassong, Ofi Chinje, senators, etc. They all agree that's good for their pockets. This is why MPs will do anything La République asks them. See what each MP gets. 1. For micro projects, they get 40 million francs CFA every 5 years. That breaks down to 8 billion francs CFA per year. Mandate expenses, 10 million francs CFA. Monthly base salary, 850,000 francs CFA. Non-refundable car allowance, 8 million francs CFA. Yearly bonus, 1.2 million francs CFA. Other perks, per diem for missions, financial inducements to pass laws without debating, incomplete public contracts, illegal economic activities, monopoly of administrative hiring and advancement. So these are some of the other perks that MPs get. So each of them get a sum total about 13 million francs CFA per month, tax-free. Now, you may ask yourself, well, that's fine. They may deserve it, they're lawmakers. But let's find out, how much productivity do we get out of these MPs? So let's talk about output and productivity since 1990. We are talking about 32 years, more than half my age. Bills proposed by MPs, adopted and passed, number 0, zilch. Control of government action, 0. Parliamentary inquiries, 0. Number of announced cabinet meetings, 0. Ministers fired without ever seeing the president, no job terms of reference. These are all things that their so-called MPs, not ours, their so-called MPs have been doing. And they've been paid 11 million francs per month. Do you really think that La République needs MPs? They don't, because they don't do anything. They have no impact on the economic life of that country. Now the chiefs and funds will add to the list of lawmakers. We learned that they are just coming back from France with a lot of money to bribe quarterheads, bribe fighters, bribe locusts, simply because they know they cannot produce. They have no productivity index whatsoever. There's no productivity in these people. This is how Kavai Jibril Yege, the flatulent head of the National Assembly, put it. Most of the MPs will end up having nothing to tell their constituents because they don't even know what was done throughout the March 2022 session. We all know that they were on strike because they didn't pay their non-refundable car allowance. So they refused to go to the assembly. The question is, after 40 years in the system, what gives Kavai Yege the authority to make such a statement? If nothing has been produced in 40 years, so what difference does it make, even if they don't show up? So now let's go down to our number 8 item here, which is Emergence 2035. That is the accelerated economic sabotage or chronic mismanagement that has killed the economy. For example, you have an enterprising nation fooling its own population that electricity must be cut because of hydroelectric dam repairs. La République pays no regards to economic damage across industry. in a country where the state grants itself monopoly on electric power production, distribution, and retailing. These people have no idea of project management, project life cycles, and the importance of contingencies in project planning. We'll just learn that today, the entire Ambazonia has been without electricity for 2 days. And in the great town of Boya and the Federal Territory, I think they're having electricity on and off as we speak. All what the stakeholders are interested in is how much money can be swindled from projects or from budgets. As these economic saboteurs and predators go around dishing blood money, they should understand Ambazonians have reached the end of the road. Let's give you some facts. Okay, we'll be giving you a little bit of theory, but let's give you some facts to support that theory. You have the Douala Yaoundé Highway. It's a white elephant abandoned in the middle of the bush. It started in 2014 at a cost of 423.5 billion francs CFA. Yet, there are no toll booths, weighing stations, service stations, and other emergency lanes. Project cost for phase 1, $3.6 million per kilometer. 1 kilometer is $3.6 million. Phase 2, 1 kilometer is $9.9 million. Okay, for 1 kilometer of road, 1,000 meters, they pay $9.91 million. So what's the latest news? The contractor, China First Highway Engineering, has withdrawn and moved its road construction machinery from work sites. At this juncture, there are no connections to the capital's road network and to the national road number 3 in Bomiebe. China left because of lack of funding. How can Cameroon afford the hundreds of millions of dollars needed when France is confiscating 50% of Cameroon's foreign earnings? That is the fee for using the French language. I hope you are listening. The fee for using the French language is that they are going to confiscate 50% of your foreign earnings. You remember the Olympic Stadium? It's just been reported that the contractor, Magil, has left for Saudi Arabia. I'm sure he paid some MP some money to let him out of the country. Now the Olympic Stadium is unfinished and the contractor has gone. You think he's ever going to come back to finish that stadium? You must be joking. So this is how La République solves power outage. One dam, Memvele, cost them $365 billion. 10 years later, not yet in operation, and 6 times over budget. And they just discovered that the hydrologic studies were outdated, so they were false. Very interesting. 40 engineering studies. So what was the solution? Another dam, and another dam, and another dam. Next, you had the hydro-making dam, which was built to solve the problem of the first one, and then the Lompaga, the Nactigal. And after 3 dams, they said, oh my goodness, maybe we are going the wrong path. They decided to go for the Kribi gas-fired plant and then to solar power. So they were expected to generate a whopping 932 megawatt for a sum total of 1,376 billion francs CFA. After all that expense, you know what happened? No electricity. As we speak, Ambazonia has been in the dark for 2 days. No electricity after spending 1,376, almost 1,500 billion francs CFA. And if you also add the roads that are not completed, it's almost $2,000 billion. That is La République economy for you. So, despite the shortage of electricity, do you know what? Alukam signed a contract in 1950 with La République to pay 1 franc a year, not a day, 1 franc a year for electricity. And Alukam uses more than 80% of the electricity produced in La République. But they pay 1 tiny franc a year. Whereas they consume the highest amount and the poor pay the taxes. So every citizen in La République, including Ambazonia, pays for Alucam. And Alucam is a French company. So they come, they use all the electricity we produce, or most of it, and they pay nothing. Now the question will be, maybe the Cameroon government can go to Alucam and say, listen, you have to pay a fair share of electricity. Do you know what will happen? There will be a coup d'etat the following day. Nobody has the right, especially an African, to go tell the French what they can do because they own your land. And you sign that paper. They'll show the paper to you. Didn't you sign this? Are we stupid or something? Or are you stupid? Don't you read this paper on the 26th of December 1950? Weren't you the ones who signed this paper? And now you're asking us to pay our fair share of electricity? Is there something wrong with your brains? That's what the French will tell you. And they'll say that happily. So who will pay for the construction of all these dams? La République, after giving France 50% of its foreign earnings for using the French language. Now, let's see the effect of energy on foodstuff. We'll give you practical numbers here. Real. Farm-market rice grown in Yagua costs 300 francs a kilo. One other thing, La République, they have this obsession in naming corporations in English. They think that when they do that, they impress Anglophones. They make them feel that they're part of it. But nothing goes beyond that sign. If you go in there and you speak a word of English, they may think you're insulting them and you may be fired. These are people who have no clue of the English language. Sorry about that. Okay. However, there is a company in Yagua that produces local rice, and the price is 300 francs per kilo in Yagua. When it gets to Yaoundé, which is about 1,400 kilometers away, it costs 700 francs per kilo. That is a percentage increase of 133. So 133% increase in the price. Now, the price of rice from China, which is 10,000 miles away from Yaoundé, costs 400 francs per kilo. So Yagua rice is 75% more expensive. And the distance from China to Yaoundé is 7 times the distance from Yaoundé to Yagua. This is La République economy for you. Let's go further. Let's look at La République debts. In 2007, La République's debt was 43 billion francs CFA. In 2017, that's 10 years later, the debt is 250 billion. That is at an increase of a whopping 481%. That is an increase of $21 billion a year. And we project, if things don't change, by the time of emergence, that is 2035, La République's debt will be 623 billion francs CFA. So, what do you say about emergence? What does that mean in the climate of political incompetence, Ambazonian struggle for independence, huge foreign debt, burgeoning bureaucracy, endless abandoned construction projects, incomplete stadiums, entrenched corruption, massive expropriation of oil revenues by France under the Cooperation Treaty of 1959. In fact, pundits say that 2035 emergence claim is a great deception by megalomaniacs to survive up to, I'm going to say this in broken French, so excuse my accent, to l'année assurée pour la disparition de la direction politique par les causes naturelles ou autrement. And not any emergence of the French battered economy. So this is the year La République economy will meet a certain death or disappearance, or when La République will cease to exist as a country, when Amazonia would have long gone. So there has never been an emerged economy in the Francophonie besides metropolitan France. I think I mentioned this before, and that includes Belgium, Switzerland. And this is the behavior of a transactional leader under the spell of the French presidency. So, having said all that, La République is not done yet. They still have hopes. They have an economic miracle, something that's going to transform the economy to something wonderful. Will work wonders for everybody. And listen to what they're proposing. They want to acquire a defense industry. These are people who cannot build roads. These are people who can't even fix the roads they build. They can't provide electricity. They can't do anything. They can't provide food for themselves. Now they want to acquire a defense industry. And this is the paper about that defense industry. This is a clear sign of desperation. Coming back to the basic concepts of project management. They have no clue in project management. And this is the paper they say, which is Cameroon wants to acquire a defense industry with a view to reducing its dependency of foreign partners. And they have a working group in charge of developing the military-industrial complex of the defense forces. Now, let me just stop this here, explain a few things. It is true that in a lot of countries, an advanced economy, the military is actually used to drive the economy through research and all sorts of development, because they have a hefty amount of taxpayers' money going to research. But as far as La République is concerned, do they have the capability when they cannot build their own roads, when they cannot provide food, when they cannot provide water and sanitation? Just a few days ago, we saw opposition parties sort of picketing and saying that there's no drinking water, there's no electricity. And this is a country that wants to go into the armament industry. Let me tell you the truth behind it. It is very clear that La République will soon be, if they're not already under sanctions for arms as a result of the Amazonian war. So what are they doing? Now they partner with France, and they give the French impression that they are going to manufacture weapons or whatever, develop the armament industry. No, it's just a camouflage. They are actually going to assemble French military equipment in Cameroon and write on it, made in Cameroon. They will package them as raw materials, but when they are already finished products from France, they will bring it to Cameroon and then they reassemble them and they'll sell them as made in Cameroon. But it's just to make sure that this war goes on. It is to extend this war. You have to understand this. It is the French. They want to come back. They've been beaten in Mali. They've been beaten in Chad and Central African Republic. They believe that the only way they can survive is to come to Cameroon and come off flash by telling them that you have to develop an armament industry. How can they? They have one miserable university. How many electrical engineers are they going to graduate? How many mechanical engineers are they going to graduate? How many computer scientists? How many economists? I mean, do you know the supply chain of such a complex industry? La République that cannot even build a road. You think they'll be able now to design a weaponry for the defense forces? And who is going to sell it to? What credibility have they been able to demonstrate? That country will say, oh, I want the weapons that are manufactured in La République du Cameroon. So, Amazonians, open your eyes and open your ears. France want to implant a defense packaging company in La République so that they can continue this war. They can continue killing you. And that's why they send the funds to France so that they can give them enough money while they are deceiving you and giving you this money. They'll now try to put together a defense industry so that they can bring the weapons and kill all of you. You have to understand this. And this information just got to me a few days ago from the Amazonian Secret Service. So they've been doing a lot of research. The field office in Seattle, Washington actually posted this, sent this to me. So we have to understand this. We know where this information is coming from. Okay, so there's no point reading whatever is on this paper. It's all fake. It's all about France trying to build some sort of an armament factory in La République so that they can bring their weapons and assemble them there and then use it to kill Amazonians. So be aware of this. Don't say you never heard about it. So on the flyer today, I talked about a portrait of Peter Mafani Musonge. And fellow Amazonians, I want you to listen to what I'm going to say about Peter Mafani Musonge. This gentleman who was the director of the National Civil Engineering Laboratory. After that, he was the director or the managing director of the National Civil Engineering Pool, and there's a reason for that. And after that, he was the general manager of the CDC. After the general manager of the CDC, he was the prime minister. And today, he's one of Bia's favorite senators. No, he was never elected. He was appointed. And there's a reason for that. You understand it when I tell you the story of who Mr. Peter Mafani Musonge is. So, Peter Mafani Musonge was born in the Fako County in the Atlantic Zone. He attended Sase College. He has a Bachelor's of Science degree in Civil Engineering from Drexel University, not too far from here in Pennsylvania. And also a Master's of Science in Structural Engineering from Stanford University. That's an Ivy League school in California. From 1980 to 1984, Mr. Musonge was the director of the National Civil Engineering Laboratory, where they do a lot of research and foundations and a lot of geotechnics. And from that perspective alone, you would have imagined that if they're having technical issues with the roads or the dam, you would think that Mr. Musonge may be the expert that you will consult, or he may just be curious enough as a civil engineer to say, can I look at the technical documents that you people are using in order to design this dam? And he may say, oh no, this is not the way to go, and give his expertise. He will not do that and explain to you, because the man has no interest in engineering and probably does not remember anything about engineering. All he's interested in now is xenophobia, making as much money as he can, and being a good houseboy for Mr. Paul Biya. And why do I say that? When Mr. Musonge was the director of the National Civil Engineering Pool, and that was from 1984 to 1988. That was 2 years after Mr. Biya was president of Cameroon. And with the plan that Mr. Biya had signed with the French to dismantle everything Anglophone, Mr. Peter Musonge was very useful. You all remember, as young Amazonians, we used to see how, boisterous, what the PDO did, the Public Works Department, building our roads, and we also all these trucks all over the country, whether you're in Moya or in Fundong or Ibwe. When Mr. Peter Musonge was the director, that's the person who started dismantling that agency. Remember, we talked about economic raiders, predators. They used Mr. Musonge to dismantle the PWD. And everything, the Francophones came and stole equipment. And within a short period, all the equipment was gone. And in order to pay him for that great work of destroying our economy, he was promoted to be the managing director or the GM, general manager of CDC. But remember, before him was a certain Mr. Nibangu. What was his background? Mr. Nibangu was actually made director by the British. And there was a reason they made Mr. Nibangu. He was a chartered accountant, money man. Have you ever taken money from an accountant? You must be very smart. This guy knew accounting very well. So he ran CDC as a corporation. And when Mr. Bia made friends with Mr. Nibangu, remember, if those who are old enough, he was a very good friend of Mr. Nibangu. They actually used to go to Scotland to play golf. But little did Mr. Nibangu know that Bia was just studying him to see how he can use him to destroy the CDC. But he realized that the man knew so much about money that Mr. Nibangu wouldn't do it. So what did he do? He promoted him to probably Minister of Agriculture. And in his place, he put somebody who had no idea what agriculture means, let alone money, a civil engineer. And this is the person who sold Bakweri land to La Republique. Let it be known that if people in Atlantic Zone, they are claiming that people had taken their land, it started with Mr. Musonge. He sold that land to La Republique when he was general manager of the CDC. You have to get this and get it now. So as general manager, he turned over the paperwork to La Republique. But that paperwork had to go to France. Of course, as CDC general manager, he cannot be selling the property of a country to a foreign nation. He has to be at a higher elevation. So what does Bia do? Immediately from 1988, he was, from 1996, he was promoted. He was made the Prime Minister of the Republic of Cameroon. Do you see the logic? So when he became Prime Minister, he again signed the paperwork as Prime Minister and said, France, you can have this, this CDC. It's yours now. Take it for a hefty sum of money. And that's why the headquarters were removed from Bota to Yaoundé. So if today people sit and start clamoring, oh, these are xenophobes, they don't like people who settle from other parts of the country, that the people taking our wealth. No, it is not xenophobe. It is Mr. Musonge, son of the soil. And that's where you see all the chiefs coming in. They probably gave them maybe, who knows, $100,000 each or whatever, and they shared among themselves and sold the land of our forefathers to the French. You have to understand this. We want Mr. Peter Mafani Musonge to tell Ambassadors what he did with that money and why, who gave him the authority to sell the land of Bakweri people. He has to tell us. And if he walks out there making xenophobic statements, I think somebody should be brave enough to ask him, Mr. Musonge, you sold the land to La Republique. Why did you do that without asking us? Why is it that the headquarters of CDC now has moved from Bota to Yaoundé? All the paperwork has moved to Yaoundé. Another story. In 1996, when Mr. Musonge was made Prime Minister, at that same time, we were clamoring to have the Cameroon Society of Engineers recognized as a civil society organization so we can instruct the government on how major projects can be run or can be constructed or can be implemented, or help the government understand some of the problems of the built environment. In fact, it came as a result of, I remember there was a building that collapsed in Samefulan, actually killing 2 people. And I was the writer of that article that demonstrated what led to the collapse of this building. And after presenting this article to the Cameroon Society of Engineers, one of its meetings, we felt that we can take the lessons learned and present it to the Prime Minister. And how lucky we were that the Prime Minister was a former member of the Cameroon Society of Engineers. With the help of Mr. Jerome Eta, one of our extinguished engineers, God bless you, He said Mr. Musonge, they were all in the Cameroon Society of Engineers in the 60s or the 70s, and they would like, and he'll be very happy to seek an appointment to meet Mr. Musonge. We're all very excited, and I was among them. So this is not a story that I heard from somebody. I was present. So we made an appointment to meet Mr. Musonge at the Prime Minister's house. Of course, he said yes. He actually selected a date when we would arrive at the Prime Minister's office and we can have a roundtable discussion and we'll tell them about some of these engineering issues that is bothering us. Can you imagine that about 1 hour to that meeting, he said he had an emergency meeting with the head of state and he will get back to us. We have been waiting for 26 years. Mr. Peter Musonge never came back to us. And you think there isn't an explanation for that? Of course there is an explanation. I'm sure one of the spies must have told the president, Mr. Biya, that look, a bunch of some misguided Anglophones want to see the prime minister thinking that they know anything about engineering. They call that, that fellow to come and see me. And as legend holds it, he asked Mr. Musonge, what's wrong with you? What makes you think that you're an engineer? I am the engineer. And Mr. Musonge probably apologized. I'm sorry for such misguided. I was sort of misguided. I didn't know what to do. And I'm sorry for what I did. And so he probably told him, make sure that you never talk to those fellas again. I know that they actually made a request to have the Cameroon Society of Engineers recognized by Parliament. I'm going to look into it and see what will be done. So we went back and we waited. Something funny happened. We actually sent a request to Parliament, for this society to be recognized. Indeed, it was recognized, but what came out was more of a monster. They changed the name of the Cameroon Society of Engineers into the National Order of Civil Engineers. I was horrified. Why is it an order? Is it a cult or what is it? Then when I started looking into the Francophone mentality, that's when it occurred to me that whenever you have a society of people who at least know the difference between the right and left, you have to turn it into the cult. And when you turn it into a cult, it's an opportunity for you to gain access into the ruling class. The moment we had the order, my goodness, for the first elections, I saw Francophones who had never attended any meeting. When they heard it's an order, they understood what it meant. I could not imagine. My colleagues, I was head of department. I had colleagues coming in there to make sure that I was not voted. I wanted to be in charge of education and training. I had to fight very hard to win that election. I did win it. But I was shocked that all the Francophones who came there made sure that they didn't vote for me. And the moment we had the elections, oh, thank God Mr. Senze was president, so he wanted to make sure that it remained an engineering institution. People started using it in order to be cabinet ministers. And that's what we see today. So that's Mr. Musonge for you. And just to give you a little bit more into the mental state. When you have a business of such magnitude, a corporation, and you have a civil engineer, and it's not even a civil engineering corporation, you put in somebody, you think that because he's an engineer, he necessarily understands finance. No. Most engineers don't understand finance. I want to make that very clear today. Mr. Nibango was a chartered accountant. He understood finance. And when Mr. Musonge came to that position, I'm sure when they showed him the balance sheet, he had no clue what it was. Thank God that within the interim government, a cross-section of the cabinet are certified financial experts. And they've done this for a reason, in order to serve the Ambazonian people. We understand finance. And not only that, it extends to the Ambazonia community in the United States. They have built a strong background in finance, so they understand what money means. And Mr. Musonge, I believe very honestly that he was a good civil engineer, but he wasn't the type of person to be head of an agro-industrial complex. And you see what happened to the CDC. He gave it for free to La Republique. And in continuation of that act, Mr. Biya appointed him a senator. He's probably going to be a senator for life, but there's something here. Do not be surprised that if they make the position of vice president, the person who may be appointed to that post is Prime Minister or former Prime Minister Peter Mafamini Musongwe. This is the gentleman who sold CDC to the French. He is a red blood, so-called red blood Amazonian. But he sits today, he takes money from Mr. Biya to kill his own people. And that's why he is so embarrassed. He cannot stand a free Amazonian because he will have a lot of questions to answer. Thank you, Paddy. Over to you. That's all I have to talk about today.
Good evening once again, and welcome to this broadcast, Amazonians. You, Dr. Munga, Amazonians watching, I told you that Dr. Munga is not coming to do social media ping pong. He is a lecturer of them all, and we are not going to do communication to excite, but necessary communication that is needed during a critical time like this. We have been taking down some very vital aspect of history, and I would like to tell you the significance before we move into the question session. The significance of this is to tell you why these enablers are fighting tooth and nail to protect their interest. The stakes that they have preserved with their allegiance and treaties, backdoor agreements with Cameroon. And they are recruiting many. Some of their recruits is Mr. Arno that you know today. If not, why would he duration for the nation of Amazonia? And without any waste of your time, Amazonians, you've been watching. I'm calling on those that are watching us from the social media platforms on Facebook and on YouTube to continue to share for others to join this broadcast. We will be taking questions from the home front, mostly from the home front. The numbers will be placed on the screen very soon. I advise some of you that cannot call in. Some of you may not want to call in, to also drop your questions in the comment section. And straight away, I would like to start asking some very serious question to Dr. Mogwa. Before we get into what he discussed about, there was an aspect on issues that I was talking, and that should we expect a clarity from government standpoint, from, I would say, government policy, when we find people killing our own fighters. The people of Amazonia are concerned. They feel that the president or the government should do more than just the speeches that have been made. They would want to see, and a lot of Amazonians have said this has happened over and over again. We saw it in Guzang, we saw it in Lebialem. We've seen it in Boi more than once. Chacha has gone, Amigo, by the same group of individuals trying to constitute themselves or force themselves down the throat of Ambazonians that have rejected them. And so what they want to do is to intimidate. If they cannot manipulate, they intimidate them into submission. So Dr. Mungwa, it is a critical time for the nation of Amazonia. We have lost, like the president said, one of the finest. I know you have been able to liaise with the Secretary of State for Defense, for Self-Defense, SOS Frank. Talk to us in terms of action. I'm talking about policy action. What is the government telling the people? What is the government telling the people to do in response to this carnage that is caused by some?
Thank you, Paddy. I think that's a very fair question. What the government intends to do is not isolated. The capacity to accomplish certain objectives is based or linked to the resources we have. And we all know that. And therefore, what I said earlier, you see, my speech was very short because the anger, the sadness can only be expressed in what we do on Saturday. It is very important that what we do on Saturday, this fundraiser, this national emergency fundraiser, will define the path that we have to take. We already have several paths that we've identified. I need not go into the detail because the Secretary of State for Self-Defense must have mentioned it. But that will be concretized on Saturday, depending on what Ambazonians are able to sacrifice for us to achieve our objectives. But there's one thing that's very clear, and I think the president made this statement. If you are for Ambazonia, you are on our side. If you are on La Republique side, it doesn't matter where you come from. You are our enemy. It is that simple, and it is that clear-cut. If you are on our side, it doesn't matter who you are. You are with us. But if you are on La Republique side, again, it doesn't matter where you come from. You're against us. And we are going to behave accordingly. So I strongly urge Ambazonians to come to this fundraiser on Saturday and show their anger by how much they can dip into their pockets and give the restoration forces. And trust me, when we have the funding we need, there's definitely going to be action because we have one of the bravest on the ground. These people have sustained a government that has been ruling us for 60 years. They've kept them in their tracks for 5 years. And these are people who have no military training whatsoever. We have to recognize that. It is very important. And so that's all I have to say. We have a series of strategies, but whatever we take will depend on the means we have to accomplish those strategies. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, so that is great right there. Now we're into another aspect. I would like the technicians most probably to get the phone line, the phone number there, so that Ambazonians can start getting ready to call. But this is something that is quite vital. You mentioned Musonge actually mortgaging. It's not different from what a certain activist, purported activist, whom we now understand is not really an activist for Ambazonia, who also attempted to mortgage the resources of Ambazonia sometime in 2018 in 2018, late 2018, in London. And by some means, he was ambushed. And we have seen him proudly say to the peoples of Amazonia that he's going to smoke them. The man has a proxy group that kills Amazonians. But he's purporting and titling that group an Amazonian Defense Force with very specific men stand. Do you think some means there can be some collaboration, or the government by any means will ever collaborate with this group that has killed Amazonians? If yes, what are the chances for any form of collaboration? Dr. Mungwa, it would appear you're offline. I think you're frozen.
Sorry, but I don't know what
frozen.
happened. Okay.
Well,
Is it
maybe
better
a
now?
connection. Yeah, I think it's better now.
Okay. Go ahead.
Did you get the question, or would you want me to repeat?
Oh, you said, is it any way we can collaborate with this ADF? Is that what you're saying? I said, again, I told you what the president said. If you are on our side, if you are against La Republique, you are with us. If you are against us, you cannot be with us. Then whatever side of the fence they are, it will be automatic. So it's not a matter of collaboration. If you are fighting La Republique, we don't have to be fighting next to each other. If you can demonstrate that you are taking out La Republique soldiers on our land, then you are from Amazonia. We are not fighting for Dr. Sako. Can this be made very clear? When people say that we are not fighting for Dr. Sako, we are fighting for Amazonia. So if you are on our side, because we are fighting for Amazonia, okay?
Yes.
So there is no question about it. So I don't want to start giving labels. I know that the restoration forces, they are fighting for Amazonians. So anybody who is fighting for Amazonia, then we are on the same boat. Whoever, I don't know, I don't care what their title is. I don't care what whether you are ADK or ADF or AD whatever, you are either fighting for Amazonia or you are not. I hope my question is clear. Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Now, it's quite clear. If you are not with us, you are against us. I want you to be categorical about this. Are you saying that we will react on to such people just the same way we react to enemy forces? Because Amazonians want to be very clear if the government is in with them or not.
This is somebody, if you hold a gun and you are pointing at an Amazonian, doesn't matter whether you are La Republique or you are Chadian or you are from Bui, the moment you are pointing a gun against an Amazonian, you are automatically an enemy and should be taken out. It's that simple. It's that simple. I don't want to create subtitles. It is very clear at that initial stage. You are either for us or you're not.
Yes.
Another, France is trying to build an armament industry in La Republique so that they can continue this war. So it is very critical that we actually end this war and become a sovereign nation before they do that. Because when we become a sovereign nation, we have additional strategies to keep them off our land. They wouldn't just walk into our land because, well, they believe that they own our space. No, they won't be able to do that. So let it be known that strategy of building an armament industry with the guise of trying to reboot its economy is a lie. We have evidence that it is France that's trying to build an armament industry. They can go to Algeria, they can go to Nigeria, pick up some arms, come and assemble them in the guise of raw materials. They're only coming to build, and we will become a wasteland. They want us to be fighting for the next 200 years. Look at Haiti. Look at what happened to Haiti. It's miserable. They want to turn us into another Haiti in Africa. Let Amazonians understand this. It will not happen. And let people like Misonge, Philemon Yang, and Diongute, or Ofu Chinje, or Paul Tasson, let them get it into their brains. We are aware of this. They cannot do that. And all the chiefs, this is what France want to do in Cameroon. Come and assemble weapons in the guise of a manufacturing industry for the armament industry. What is so important that you think that in order to grow your economy, you have to bring an arms industry or an arms factory? What capabilities do you have? Let Amazonians understand this. And we have to tell the world, because they'll soon be under sanctions, an embargo to buy arms. And probably they're already under embargo, or they know that it's going to show up. Now they want to put up this placard that, oh, we want to be self-sufficient in arms. For what? Who is attacking you? How many times has Nigeria attacked La Republique? How many times has Equatorial Guinea attacked La Republique? How many times has Chad attacked La Republique? Now they want to build a robust armament industry? Oh my goodness, you think we're fools? They can't fill potholes. They can't design a road. For 60 years, they cannot even build a road. They cannot build a stadium. Biya was in charge of 1972 Cup of Nations. It flopped. He's in charge of the 2021. It flopped. Between a period of over 40 to 50, see, he can't just do one thing and it works. You think he's going to be able to manufacture arms? Do you know the complications that is required to manufacture arms? In most armament industries, in fact, the parts are distributed all over the world. Supply chain issues, quality control, quality assessment. You have to have the technicians to go all over the world to check whether they are done to the right specifications. And then they are brought and assembled through a very complex intervention of quality engineers. You have control engineers, and you have mechanical engineers, you have computer scientists, and so on and so forth. La Republique is supposed to do that when most of the cabinet are illiterate. These are people who want money at every turn. You think it will even survive? These are people who want to reduce the cost of road construction, and they say the government will set up a asphalt manufacturing plant by the government. When do these people know about regulation? Why does the government have to do everything? They have no concept of regulation. In order to be competitive, the government has to take its butt out of manufacturing. It has to regulate it. It has to be in the private sector, and that's the only way that you can have competition. Everything is the government. Everything is the government. Then they are going to appoint a medical doctor to be head of an asphalt plant, just like they appointed a civil engineer to be head of an agro-industrial complex. Even the British that were there, they could not seize the land from the Bakuri people. The Germans who were there, they could not seize the land from the Bakuri people. Mr. Nibangu, who was there, he could not seize the land from Bakuri people. When Ndele was prime minister, he could not seize the land from Bakuri people. When Foncha was prime minister, he could not seize the land. Neither did Joa. But Peter Mafani Musongo came and sold that land to La Republique and eventually gave it to France. And you think that is right? And they go there and put up this funny story that they are paying Dr. Sako 30 million francs or $30 million. I don't know what it is, which is a lie. And people actually buy that lie when the thief is actually sitting there in Boya. That's the real thief who stole from the Bakuri people.
Anna, you've just brought to mind this funny story of Dr. Sako receiving a salary. And it baffles me that even after Amazonians have realized that this was all a frame up, it was a lie, you still have some who are unable to just agree with the fact that this is a whole lie. Now, this is a lie. They have chosen to lie to themselves, Amazonians. They have lied to themselves and they believe their lies. They have lied to themselves to the extent that they have become obsessed with their lies. Now we're going to move on with the questioning, Dr. Mungwa. There is a critical issue here that has to do with continuity, how to coordinate. Let us face it. I have a caller here. Just a moment, and I will coordinate this, and then you can ask your question. Just a moment. Then we have to face it. There is a problem of coordination, which I believe to some extent has been fixed. That has to do with coordination from the home front and coordination from the diaspora. Now, Cameroon is aware of the strong diasporic community that Amazonia has. And therefore, they would pick up traditional rulers from Amazonia specifically into a diaspora to manipulate them. And in the home front, they're playing their cards. It is true that we, an ABC Amba TV, would want to report the story about the quarter heads very differently, because at the end of the day, we will need to make friends with the quarter heads and the people so that there can be coordination on the ground. But looking at it, Cameroon is playing the cards, paying cheaply to the Anus abroad and the Ayabas, and also intimidating and manipulating the people on the home front. That is some form of coordination. We have an Amber Peace Plan, but there's been chaos. As Secretary of State for Communication, you are part of the draft. What are some of the strategies you putting in place, or the government is putting in place, to ensure coordination from the home front and in the diaspora? This is quite vital. Talk to us, and I believe this caller will be given the question. Yeah, talk to us, sir.
It's very clear. Today, the coordination is education, 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 and education. If you have a snake 2 meters away, and we tell you that that snake can bite, isn't that enough information for you to stay away from that snake? If you physically go, knowing very well that the snake is going to bite you, who are you to blame when that snake bites you? If you did not know, if you saw that snake and you thought it was a lizard or something else, and it bites you, we can say, I'm sorry, you've probably never seen a snake before. And that's valid. And that is why ground education at the home front is absolutely critical. And that's why we have to set audio messages of my presentation on ABC so that it can go far and wide. Let people understand what the stakes are. La Republic is about to collapse. We know it. It's about to collapse. They've run out of money. There's an international injunction on them to make sure that they resolve the Amazonian problem, but they don't want to resolve it the way it should be resolved. They feel that they can go through the back door to resolve the matter. We are saying, no, it cannot work. It cannot work. And until we get educated, and that's why I go at length to do all the research to make sure that I coordinate with the Amazonian intelligence all over the world so that they give me all the information they have so I can present it to you. We have an excellent intelligence network. We have all the information we need. So I want to assure Amazonians that this is the last stretch of this road to sovereignty. And I really want, whether it's within the LGAs, within the counties, they need education.
Education plus the available framework, you say, Dr. Mungwa, is the solution. Now we have a caller, Ochiba Nelson. Please talk to us.
Hello, Mr. Paddy.
Yes, good evening. Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you with Secretary for Communication, Dr. Mungwa, for the education with people. Some of us we not stay back for drive for the FM Insobu for the work where EBD do, and then people that they can't turn against them. So with time they come back. I just call for give some small. For ask some question in addition to Mongwa. He asked they talk for the about the money where the coup plotters and the rest that they can't talk say they will give president. Where CDC can they give president? Again, a question where we ask people where they for home front, all of them, whether they confused, they believe say this thing not whether they talk say oh not true. I don't want to ask them say why it be say most of them they want to come up for their houses, they go keep their Android phone them inside house, or they delete all things the way they did it, and they not the one share any keep any pictures in Amazonia for day now because they believe say if La Republic see them with any information for their phone, they will kill them. Like how they be just suspect Wazizi, they carry go kill them, and all those things. Then how people they will come forward and say CDC director he go to give money, they give money for president and they never cash it. It is still the worker free for outside day. How I know if he take this thing and say now common sense? Because any person where he give money for Amazonia cost, we for cost. Even at 5 francs, La Republic, it can't cash you. Even suspected people them. And the next thing I want to talk and say, some people they tell me say, why it be say will not be stop Nations Cup, will not be stop mountain race, will not be stop con. Well, all those things that will take place for FACO. Now, according to Epasa Moto, it talks say FACO again 20 barracks. Format it control 1. Rebel Ason it control 19. I want to ask and see both side are 19 then they did and how they not be stopped this AFCON and all those things them. Take for example, this 2020, this Nations Cup it just can pass. None of them they care for even ask and say the money where Chris and Wabongwa they go take away get $135,000 US dollars. Now money where people they want bring property them for stop they can with them. Now they take the money they chop them. No man, no, they even ask them, but they look or they can't tell us something. So Ambazonia will get for it, be very smart. Meanwhile, not they fall tricky for all these things the way people they can't talk for here. I believe say the time don't correct when I get for talk. Even the 2020 draft, $6 US dollars, a day with them all I did them. And we each try say they want to bring some reconciliation. I talk to me they even call meeting, he will grace will call meeting, he not coming for outside here. And I be disappointed where I see fighters for Bui where they communicate with the Reverend Ason and whatsoever. And where they even tell them, say me they give their numbers. So me wanna stand up Amazonia people. Me wanna stand up at town and plenty. Me will continue for the go. Me people that not enjoy the foolishly accepting the way they come up for that and the rest. The enemy is La Republic. The enemy is not any other person where it come for this. So if they talk about defend on our communities within the LGAs and countries, people that can't fool now when I going to go against it, it means you people don't know. Thank you plenty.
Okay, that was probably a comment there, Dr. Mungwa. But perhaps you want to elaborate on that. But it also brings the question of how the government communicates to the people sufficiently that will clarify some doubts, and also what are the actions that the government would have to take. Because do we just allow people to continuously lie, take money, misappropriate it? What action is government going to take on issues like that? And this I want to add with a question of, it has to do even with the treasury, the property of the Amazonian Foundation. Amazonians are disgruntled. They want to see action. They want to see proven action. So all of this is just part of the concerns. I believe that some of will end when a legal action would have taken place against those who have defrauded the government. That's what I think, Dr. Mungwa. Perhaps you want to comment and add to that.
Okay. First of all, before I answer your question, let me show you the landscape, the tapestry, so that we actually understand the context under which we are working. This war started as a journey of volunteers. And when you have people, as Mr. President said, you have volunteers coming to fight and people with a common identity, it is very difficult for you to say no. And you may never know what the reasons were for them to join the fight. Others were very genuine. They wanted to see us liberate ourselves. But there was a substantial number that did not really care. They wanted to exploit it. And this was something that was almost impossible to identify. It wasn't as if we had a job description, said, oh, we want a person with certain capabilities to be the Secretary of Communication. We said, who here can communicate? And people said, I'm going to take a try. But over time, now we're starting from their actions, we're able to determine their character. Some came as bishops, some came as pastors, but they ended up as thieves. It's unfortunate, but now we're having the facts. I'm not a journalist. I'm just a politician.
No, yeah, I agree. Dr. Mungwa, please.
But listen, I'm getting there.
You have just said a short statement.
Yeah.
You have said an audacious statement. Some came as bishop, that's a Bishop Gyawan.
Yes.
Some came as pastor, that is Pastor Chris Arno. And
Yes.
they ended up as thieves.
Thieves.
What action is the government taking towards these thieves? That is the concern of me. That's the concerns of Amazonians. And we understand that there was most recently a thief at the level of the treasury.
Yes.
Now why would the people believe you, the government, if you are unable to take action against people like that?
Let me keep going. Okay.
Yeah.
So one of the weaknesses we have, like any group that is fighting a revolution from outside, where we don't have our institutions and we don't have all the mechanisms where we can bring people to law, to order, we have a very limited ability in order to bring it to book. Unless we are able to demonstrate that they also break the laws of the land where we reside. If we can prove that, then we combine the two for them to be locked up. So that's why, in the case of the Treasury, they have violated the laws of the United States. And that's why they're being pursued. But the United States is not La Republique where you can just say, oh, I have my uncle who is the grandson of my father's second wife's daughter, whatever. And say, please, do something for us. We have to wait for the law to take place. It's not a political issue. It's a criminal issue.
Now, Dr. Mungwa, are you saying that Ambazonians should be hopeful that the violators of the laws of the United States of America that purportedly infiltrated the system, created fraudulent documents to swindle funds from the Treasury, and that is money laundering in the United States, that is fraud against the laws in America. You are saying that Ambazonians should be hopeful that in the days to come, there'll be legal actions.
There'll be legal action. Not that they will. We've already started an action. So let it get to fruition.
So legal action is in motion.
It's in motion. Okay. And that's how it is done. And when you are in a country of laws, there's something called patience. It is not like in the case of Mr. Anu, who went and saw the president and said, oh, they have to resolve this matter. You have to arrest Iringwa. No, you don't give ultimatums. We don't give ultimatums in a country of laws. In a democracy, you don't give ultimatums. You sit down, you wait, and when the time comes, you agree on what the judgment is. If you have to go back for some sort of, I don't know how you call that, for it to be re-examined by a higher court, yeah, you have the right to. So I can understand the anxiety because we've lived in a country where there are no laws. So we believe that if something happens to me today, tomorrow, let me just go and solve it. Quick. Then we have to have that patience because when the judgment will come, it will be so sweet you wouldn't even believe that you are living in America. So they cannot take the laws of La Republique and think they can play, the same game in the United States of America. It is not going to work. The United States has the data of every single soul who lives in this country legally and maybe illegally. They have it. And that's why if people can send machines to the moon, you think it's finding a Chris Arno that will be difficult for them? If people can send machines to the bottom of the ocean, you think it's a problem for them to go and pick up Elvis Cometer? Now they are sending a machine right beyond our solar system. You think it's difficult to go and pick up Richard Tango? It's just a matter of time. And we have to be patient because we are not the only ones in the United States that need some legal redress. We have to take, the law will take its course. And that's all I have to say. Let us look at the price. Let us keep fighting for our freedom. And let's continue for this fight. I am going to participate in the fundraiser on Saturday because it is very important. Our future is at stake. And we are at the last last leg of this war. Thank you.
Before we get into that, I want us to get into that fundraiser, the significance of it, the importance of it, to elaborate on it and take one or two more calls so that we can call it a day. But then, do you think it would be right to say that some of the reasons for the coup, why the coup, part of the reason for the coup by these fraudsters was to hide their tracks? Will it be right for people to analyze it from that perspective?
When you're dealing with thieves, I mean, just look at the character issue. Now, looking back, you realize that a lot of them had character issues a long time ago, even while they were still in La République, where they were born. You have to understand that. They have a character issue from the time they were teenagers. So this is to them, in fact, it was just the life they used to live. So it's not so much trying to hide their tracks. They were bad people from the beginning. Poor character, poor upbringing, no moral compass. That's all I have to say. And some of them are actually well off, by American standards. I mean, you don't expect them to live on the street, but they have character issues. And that's very important in government. You think all those thieves that you have in La République, all those ministers, they are poor? They are poor in character. Some of them are quite wealthy, but they have character issues. That's all I have to say. Thank you, Paddy.
Yeah, thank you very much, SOS. We have a caller online. Caller, where are you calling from?
Hello, Paddy. I'm calling from Mezam.
Okay. What's your contribution and question? What is happening in the home front in Mezam today? What's actually happening in the home front?
There had been gunshots just 1 hour before you came on air.
Okay.
Then we heard gunshots, but as in the night we are just in, so it's only tomorrow that we might look at where the sounds were coming from. So
okay.
I've just called to appreciate you and our SOS for information, for the information you are giving us. And there are 3 weapons that we use in this our struggle. We have information, the fighting, and the diplomacy. So I'm proposing that it's good that we people should arrange for all LGAs to have information, people with you there to interact with us from ground zero, so that we give information so that it should reach everybody in the way that everybody should be informed, to clarify this our co-plotters who have just poisoned the air with wrong information. That's all about what we do for today. Thanks for the good work. Send more greetings to our SOS.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you very much, my brother. SOS, the caller mentioned 3 aspects: communication, home front resistance, which is the defense, and diplomacy. And this takes us to this discussion, which has to do with effort the government is making. I understand some of the jittering in the by some Yaoundé proxy groups is because they're aware of what is happening in Switzerland. And like you mentioned 2 weeks ago, you said that in Switzerland, Dr. Sacco is taking the front line and he may choose to have some others. Yesterday, a video was brought to my attention at Tianjong. A certain at Tianjong was trying to claim that situations will be some collaboration, coalition with frontline movements. Perhaps you want to react to that, but talk to us again what is happening in any development with the international community and the Swiss-led process.
Uh, Again, I must confess that in as much as I have some information over the past week, I think it's actually the responsibility of the president to mention that. And when he gives the outline, then I can break it down to specifics. For now, I don't think it's actually my responsibility to do that because it's still very fresh. But coming to whoever the person's name is, I can't even recognize the name. Um, well, it's just the thickness of his imagination. We have had a very strong relationship with Switzerland, and we've held very, very fruitful meetings with lots of projects to engage on. So all I can say is that Dr. Sacco is fully engaged, and he's had communications with them. And even in very recent, I don't know whether just a couple of days ago, so that I know, but that's all I can say. Again, I think one caller sometime in the past did mention that diplomacy is not something that I have to be telling people all the time. So I'm not head of the diplomatic department, so I have to respect that. But whenever that information is out in the public, then I can fashion it to meet the needs of the Amazonian people. So that's all I have to say. But regarding the comment about having to communicate with people at Ground Zero, that gentleman is absolutely correct. And I hope, Paddy, I will hold you responsible for this in our next meeting. You remember we have been working with the communications team, not the news team, in order to connect with all the counties and LGAs so that whatever activity happens that we need to get to the Amazonian people, that should come to my desk as talking points so that I can talk to the Amazonian people and make decisions on what's happening. So this is a matter that I'm going to raise again in our next meeting. In the meantime, I think I sent out some sort of a memo not so long ago, maybe early this morning around 4 a.m. in the morning when I woke up. I think I sent out some information which I'm sure you read, and it's actually towards that particular desire. We need to have specific people responsible for certain areas at the home front so that we can collect information readily, and if we can have people like this gentleman, or maybe an email where people can send information readily so that we can filter through and see what is necessary for me to act on, they can do that. So that the door is still very open. We still get information anyway. We still get it. But if we can coordinate in such a way that it is expedited, I think that would be a good thing. And I thank the caller for bringing that idea to us.
Yes, I agree with you, sir. I believe that Amazonians have got to hold accountable those who have pledged allegiance to serve. I think departments and this government has departments, and all of them have functions. The department that heads, Secretary of States and directors of directorates should get to work. We can just do as much as we can do. If every department gets to work, we are hoping, I'm talking the place of Amazonians now, we're hoping to see all the secretaries of state take responsibility, get to work, and fulfill their mandates and communicate to the people. We cannot do the job. We rely on information that comes to the work you've done. And you cannot be dormant. If you cannot do your job, resign. There are lots of Amazonians that can do it. It's better for it to be vacant than for you to be in the office and you're not working. There's a caller online. Caller, please, where are you calling from?
afternoon, sir. I've been running so fast to get to my location so I could join you guys on the live show. And I want to thank you guys for doing this every time on behalf of all of us Amazonians. And I heard some guys were asking questions about the fighting. They want you guys to do this. They want you guys to do that. But I have a little advice to all the Amazonians back at home that because they killed our general, we shouldn't rush and start fighting back with a weaker force. So I want to tell the communication minister or secretary that please, the government should take their time and build a better force to fight against those who are the Amazonians who are against Amazonians and fight the La Republic. Because people want you to take action. It doesn't warrant you to go on and take an action that will be detriment to the government. Because if the government doesn't show strong in front of the other forces, then Amazonian people will not have confidence in you. First of all, I want to appreciate your government. This style of government is incredible. It's brilliant. It is compared to none in Africa. If we succeed and get to our nation, we'll have the best government and the best nation with incredible men with brain and idea. We should not stop worrying about what these other guys are doing. They raise their money, they do their thing. Our government is building strong and better. So we have the time to build a better government. We have the time to move forward. We don't have to rush to show to the Amazonian people that we are coming, we are strong. It's not a matter of being strong, it's a matter of right. The matter of picking the right generals. The matter of picking the right soldiers who will fight with a determination, who have ideas. Not just to pick anybody now because we want to fight back. So I want to thank you, Secretary, for educating us about Amazonian, about the resources we have, about everything great that can come out of that country. Brilliant men like you, like Paddy, who will speak and will understand and will have a language. Accurate speakers, brilliant people with knowledge and idea. Not someone like Chris Arnold who will be shouting, sorry, calling one with bad grammar like mine. We don't need a sector of communication who can speak an English, who cannot speak better English. We want a sector that can speak, that can control foreigners, right people. The city is a landed man, he speaks well, smooth, clean. We shouldn't worry about all those noise. We are doing better, we are not doing better, because this Amazonia, this new government is incredible. So I want to thank you both, gentlemen. You guys are wonderful. So, Mr. Secretary of State, please, we should not rush to build an army that's not going to work for us, or build an army that will not be successful. We should build an army that will fight, that will provide all the equipment. And we shouldn't be like the other time to raise money and don't buy equipment. We need weapons. We'll make sure the right person go and buy them, and the right person take it to them and give to the right people to fight this war. We should come out with strategies, ideas, talk as one people, one power, one purpose, way forward. We shouldn't worry about what is happening now. These other guys, who are the control of the unity force? Who do they work for? Most of the previous soldiers, I call them not previous because I've joined the bad gang, that are just killing anybody. What are they working for? If they ask them today, your government is under what? Your soldiers under which government? What will they say? We all know what Ayaba Cho is out for. He wants power. He's a greedy man. He's not going to have it. We're not going to let him have it. It's just a stage in time. Save 9. He's going to finish. So I want to thank you all to take this message back home and make sure that we should not rush to build an army that's weak. To prove our people that we have an army, should take our time. Time is of the essence. Any way we want to put it. in a positive way or in a fast way or in a delay way, but time must be the time for the right thing to be done at the right time. So I want to thank you, sir. I want to thank you, Paddy, in particular. You are strong. I just love the way you talk. Say, come over to the call because you make me want to talk.
Thank you.
Admire your strength. You're brilliant. You know, the way you speak, you make me feel that we have a great nation with brilliant people who can talk. You can go to anyone and talk about on behalf of Ambazonia and they will respect you.
Thank you.
The loud sound is something that we did in history that is a loud sounding nothing. Wow, 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 wow. Just breaking just the grammar as a communicator. It's not there. So we have one brilliant one. We have Dr. Mungwa and you.
Thank you.
I want to thank you very much.
Thank you.
I hope this message goes. We should not rush to build an army that's not strong. We should not fight back. We should take our time and mount an army that's going to fight. We should be the Ukrainians and beat the Russians and take them by surprise. Thank you, sir. Bye.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you. And like I said earlier, Dr. Mungwa I know a lot of Ambazonians are still living in the shadows of Kola just a moment, are still living in the shadows of Chris Ano. And so you are expecting a Secretary of State, a Dr. Mungwa, that comes and shouts, you know, this man took the communications department and misunderstood it for an Anchorman show. What happened? This is the fact. The communications department, as I'm speaking to you now, you still have members in the communications department still living in the shadows of Chris Ano. To them, the communications department is a TV show. And so if there is no program on TV, there's no communications department. And it's going to take us some time to make the department start functioning the way it should function. Coming on TV, the communications department can choose not to come on TV. Am I lying, doctor? They can choose not to come on TV, and they still do the communication. So Dr. Mungwa is their lecturer. He's not going to come and do social media ping pong like some artists. He's not a con artist that wants to come live, to come and say even things. Anu was Secretary of State for Communications. He goes out to even say things that have not been authorized or agreed upon by government because he wants followers. He wants to entice weak minds and caused a lot of problems for the government. Caller, you're sorry for keeping you waiting. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Cyprus.
Okay, what's your contribution or question?
Well, by the way, greetings to you all. You and so much gratitude for your immense work. You guys have been putting up a big show, especially Dr. Mungwa and you, Paddy.
Thank you.
Dr. Mungwa, doesn't have time to come on TV, shout and make it, but he does research, intensive studies of information, very brilliant information that you can mine. You know, information is soft power. The way you can take a gun and you point it to somebody to give you money is the same way you can use just words to talk to that person and the person gives you money. That's why some scammers are very successful today. So information is important, and he's doing a fabulous job in that department. So we love him like that. He shouldn't change. The way he communicates is just straight on point. And let's hope that we follow up like a lecture. Actually listen to it. I'm up about 2 o'clock, 1 o'clock, something, but I'm still following up the program because of the information I derive from it.
How interesting it is.
Yes. Okay, that's that. I just want to add to what the previous caller talked about on the issue of us rushing to create army or to react to what the coup plotters have done with General Insobu. Honestly, been so broken. I've been so hurt by his sudden death, you know. But then it's not breaking us. So growing up as a kid, I was a senior person. The junior ones in the house would hit me, and when I want to react back, my mom said, "No, you're the kid. When your kid, you're the eldest person. When your kid hits you, you don't hit them back. You try to cushion them." What the others are doing, what I've analyzed, they have tried to beat us in many dimensions. Now they want to get to us. How we react back, like killing our generals. How we get back to get some sort of infight, you know, forget about our republic.
And that's what Cameroon wants.
And that's what they want. So it's a carefully planned, plan way of doing this. They will key our top general. After this, they'll be going to the other one general. Trust me. So when they get our finest, we will not tend to leave La Republic and then start fighting among ourselves. And then La Republic is at an advantage.
Yeah.
So we have to be very, very strategic. And I believe that we have the strategic minds in the interim government who are going to look at this situation, project beyond what we are normally saying now, and make the best decision.
Yeah.
I just want to plead with the pro-ambassador that we have to be careful, patient with the decision that the interim government takes. We shouldn't use our emotions to want to see results because it's going to drag us down the track. We should be very careful and very patient with our result. What do we expect from the interim government? And trust the process and trust them that they're going to deliver. Once more, thank you guys very much. Thank you very tremendously for a good work. And I believe that at the pace at which we are moving, with a careful analysis of everything we are doing, every step on the way, we're going to make the best decision and we're going to win this war in no distant time. Thank you very much, Paddy.
Yeah. Thank you. Dr. Mungwa, this is a second caller actually bringing a very vital point which has to do with diligence.
Yes.
You're going to say something. I want to say that Dr. Sako is that kind of a leader. If you listen to his speech, he's never in a rush.
No.
If there is need to hit, he will hit in a place that nobody. You want to say something before the next caller, sir?
Yes, I mean, it's absolutely very, very good assessment, and he really thinks like a strategist. And the one thing we've learned that when something happens to you and you go back in revenge, at times you actually miss the target and you miss it altogether. So it is very clear that I spoke to the president twice today, and again, he's as calm as ever, and that calmness gives him the ability to think. This man is a strategist and he knows what he does. I don't want to belabor that point because the strategists have already started working on it. Let's wait on Saturday and see what Ambazonians can do to us. It is very important that, in fact, the death of Insobu can be a blessing in disguise because now it will motivate us. It will bring us together and we'll identify the target. Okay, we are angry. We are angry.
Okay. Yeah. Caller, where are you calling, please?
Hello, Paddy. My name is Annie. I'm calling from New Mexico.
Okay.
And
go ahead.
I have a few things. I really appreciate you guys for the work you're doing, and I'm happy that we have a Secretary of State that everybody knows that, he's doing a great job, even from ground zero, home front.
From home front.
Everybody can appreciate his work, and yours too.
Thank you, sir.
But I'll start with yours. I can remember, if I'm not making a mistake, I sent a message that, hey, Dr. Ngwambe, I saw him on the other side. I told you before that this guy, the way he's acting, scared of him. And he's on the other side. Anyway, that's not an issue to me right now. My issue is with maybe some clarifications. I am sure there are brilliant minds out there that are doing great things, but somehow we should get some assurance, something that we can hold on, especially in tough times like this, while we mobilize ourselves to support and draft and do everything we're supposed to be doing. We need some of those kind of assurances, like we have the ARFs down at the home front, and some of them that have actually decamped, but they're still expecting us to fund them. So when we're going into this draft and all of this, and I hear that money is going to maybe Le BLM, that I hear them on the other side, it makes me wonder, not to say that you should come on TV and dish out strategic things, but since we see them on the other side and we're still sending money to them, sometimes it makes us a little bit confused. So we need some kind of assurance from the government.
Okay.
We know that the federal marshal project failed, but I think we should come up with something different or something more strategic to handle issues. We will handle our business, and some of us are already planning or working on our own strategies out of the interim government, because we all are in this matter. And some people cannot come and bully us and shove their how do you call it? Their
Shove them down, or shove themselves down our throat.
No, it's not going to happen. So even outside the circumference of the federal government, we will do what we will do. Well, that's all I have to say.
Thank you very much. Yes, SOS Amazonians are vexed. You can see the one action like now.
Right.
Amazonians are categoric about it and they're vexed. Yeah, this is another person reiterating.
It is good. This is good. It's bringing us together. And on Saturday, you listen to the president speak, and you know who he is. He will make things very clear. I don't think
hello,
it is
caller. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from home front.
Okay, my brother, go ahead, please. I can hear you very loud and clear.
Yeah, Paddy, thank you very much. Thank whoever secretary, Mr. Mungwa, for what you do every week. It's not easy. I want that one very much. I know they don't stay. There's almost 2 months, so I know be able to come online, commune with fellow brothers and sisters, be it from home front or from the diaspora. I really be happy for get the opportunity to communicate today. And Papa, do you remember I be talking before water the one clean he gave of a dirty. So I didn't talk to I the one encourage home front. Say me you see the water with the dirty as the dirty it goes so me don't feel they say that water it no go be drinkable. It will be drinkable. It will clean. But say when she come for your skin, they come the rain. But when they go back, they go now small. So no matter which they try as the way we go through now, I just talk to me the president, the cabinet, and the people of home from they get confidence in their leaders.
Yeah.
So I will be very happy for you to when I do and for the education.
Yes.
Thank you.
See now say we talk for Pamungwa say no we do a lot of educational talks for ABC.
Yes.
Because I know lie you which way would you see I'm now for ABC? So my brother we call even right now for Facebook say if you need to me some person come out who will know the value for ABC. I believe say all we see the changes come from we see the changes. If you should not show you know they know you miss the channel. I know I've been for almost a month or two now because my record that I've been spoiled. And they decided to sick. Now for that time I don't say at the miss ABC like any other place where if you miss up.
So you don't buy a new decoder.
I don't buy no decoder, Papa. Yes.
Just for watch ABC.
Because of it. Yes. So a lot of people when if they not wash them, if they say they make sure marry they give a take up, it don't short for their blood. So no matter the difficulty people go through, difficult moment. About 2-3 days ago, I don't be broken better for the FM Insobu. But today, at least some news then they come where they make them with it. So I will try to talk with your brother and sister and say, make ABC continue to give educative talk for Mami and Paddy. Like what you see happen for Oku, when you see people they come out the match, not just because maybe sometimes, you know, You know, easy. You know, say Papa, there be talk Sunday what we call. I talk say if they will give option for that whole history for the Bible. Say the children of Israel they will come out Egypt for go for promised land. If they will give someone them option for go back, they will go back. When I just say they will have say even if they want go back, who for broke that sea, they mean them pass.
Yeah.
So we give us that to people and say that sea don't really close.
They don't close.
We go forward ever, backward never.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you very much.
After so we forgive them. So we will not be
Discouraged.
discouraged. We will come up with more programs. When we see these programs and when we see the national television channel, they change, the colors, they change. No man, nothing convince we already know who's how to go. I know will lie you, my power not even a politician. It will take me so many years for losing my power being a whole member of this struggle. Yes. I will discover him because at least I will go be closer to him. But I want talk say this thing not start today. If my papa will tell me that we go black bush, it go better for own time. And I believe say I go work the time my picking and do say go better for their own time. They give for better now. So we will continue for give that push. And I encourage I know call name them, but I get my one name whatever call them Kemiashu. I see some people they hook up one try for spoiling him for social media. I don't laugh. When you look at people don't be blind. Home front not blind. Home front no. Who side they really win. Where they grow corn, they grow granite, they grow iboko, they grow makaboko, even though iboko not they against on we. Home front no that win where they blow them so they make chop they grow. So me the poor they fool themselves, they keep on fooling themselves. I want just encourage them and say, no, now strong because without that end, I bet you there will be no home front. So Mona continue to but I just say me president be more vigilant and be more connected to the ground. Me not only based on the lead the collaborators when they can be more connected to the ground. Now which is that what I want. If we president the year which I they talk even me be more connected to the ground, me them bring more people the way they will strive for bring up the firepower. And I will talk on day. Remember that we call we can be the camp. I explain we say you're coming back, we will talk privately, but we will not be talk. And you see talk, so we need to activate the intelligence service. We need to make each and every living potential people and intelligence for ground for home front.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
We can make all man no say ide so man no monopolize.
They might take this other caller so that we feel round up. Would already take a long time. Thank you thank you. Many calls a couple of ground zero. Many people I have to call, whether from home front. I hope I'll be able to do all of that, and I will surely do it. Particularly, I'll save your number, and that discussion will be ignited. SOS, please.
Right, excellent contribution from that gentleman. I really praise his attachment to ABC and his faith in the interim government. That is what I should expect from every Ambazonian. I believe that we're the window to the world. I believe that we bring valuable knowledge, historical relevance to our people, for us to know our history, for us to know the individuals who have done so much damage to our history. Our own so-called Ambazonians, prime ministers, directors, ministers who have done everything to destroy us. We have to know this so that we can take the relevant actions when the time comes, when we become a sovereign nation, because these people should not go free. Over to you.
Thank you. Okay, this is the last caller we're taking. Caller, where are you calling from?
Paddy, good evening.
Yeah, good evening. Where are you're calling from? Gabon. Oh, how is it in Gabon? You're watching on satellite or on social media?
No, on satellite.
Oh wow.
I have my dish.
So our images are very clear in Gabon.
Very, very.
That is good. Nice to hear that. Talk to us, please.
Yeah, I want to just contribute this Osubu the contribution on Saturday.
Okay.
Yeah, so here we don't have that electronic system. We contribute my trip to Boya through MoneyGram. So with this case, I think you could have put a number which we can call and then a name. I don't know.
I think I will personally. I think I remember you. Maybe the same person that has called from Gabon. I don't have your number. I will personally talk with those working in the finance and the treasury, and in to work on receiving money from people like you from Gabon, from Africa. So we'll work on that. Thank you very much.
Okay, that's not fine.
Okay, let me take the last caller. The last caller, please. Yes, hello, caller. Where are you calling from? Okay, this one is calling from the home front. Okay, you want blast me? Okay, blast me. I'm not gonna drop your call. Go ahead.
Hello?
Yes, caller. Yes, you say you want blast me. No, go ahead now. You did for your television. You have to put down your volume so that I know the echo. Put down your volume, then talk more. Yeah, you.
Why my voice on the pass for screen? Why are they talk for you that would you for background?
Okay, all Ambazonians are watching you and they are listening to you now. Go ahead. I hear you want to blast us. Go ahead. I'm not going to drop your call. Go ahead. Yes. You're calling from home. Yes. From where are you calling precisely? My where are you calling from precisely? Who are you and where are you calling from? Where from?
Listen, big man.
Where are you calling from?
That one I did for outside when they cause confusion for people that they kill themselves. They kill themselves when I feel say when I do nothing, when I don't do nothing.
Where are you calling from? From the home front.
When I fight na money, when I really fight for anything we go help any person for down here for Cameroon, for Northwest and Southwest, when I really help no person.
Okay, only the word we don't call them. I will drop your call now. You know why? Because you use the word Northwest and Southwest. It shows you be CPDM. Okay, that means you be CPDM now. We need to keep people when I CPDM.
You should tell that gentleman that there is no money to fight for because we have jobs.
Yeah, meaning
we
he's
actually
not even
asking where that money is coming from. The money is coming from our pockets, so we cannot be fighting. We cannot be fighting for money that we contribute. Yes. Yeah, we cannot be fighting for money we contribute.
If you were even an Ambazonian, maybe a coup plotter, I would have allowed you to speak. But it would appear that you are not even an Ambazonian. You should be a Bami trying to talk about Northwest and Southwest.
Exactly.
Don't you know that Ambazonia does not understand what they call Northwest and Southwest again? Yeah, hello? Hello?
Yeah, yes, I'm getting you.
Yes. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Bamenda.
Okay. And what's your contribution or question?
Yeah, I just want to ask about the issue that happened in Bui.
Okay.
Yeah. So what's your effort in that? Because I can't tell you my name. I'm from
No, I don't want your name even. I'm not interested. So whose effort are you asking? My effort or the government's effort?
The government.
The government's effort?
Yes.
Okay.
That's what I mean.
Fortunately, the government spokesman is here. He's going to respond to that. So
yeah, tell him
can sit down for the question.
to come to the fundraiser on Saturday. He will get the government effort, and I hope he's gonna contribute.
Okay, if you started watching this program, the government spokesman actually laid out a framework on the of the government's response to what is happening. I don't know if you have been watching it and listening and understanding. You would have heard that we need to tread with caution. We should not use emotions in reaction to what the carnage that has happened in Bui. It's unfortunate that you have people turn their bullets on Amazonians. If you're not satisfied with that explanation, the Secretary of State for Communications and ID is asking that you you log into Zoom on Saturday, where the president will be expressing in greater details what will be done in the days ahead. Do you have any other question or contribution?
Yes, yes.
Okay, next one, please.
The other question I want to ask is about us. How do you feel about the people dying every day in Northwest in our country? How do you feel about it?
Okay, thank you for that question.
People are every day, no roads. The roads are being blocked. We are just off behaving. We are just like we are in a land that we cannot even feel free. Even though we don't criticize what is going on, we love it. But the way things are moving on now, we don't feel like there's hope for us. But we are just praying that one day
there will be hope.
better.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have a very good question there. SOS, please answer him.
Yeah,
Your
fellow
concerns are really
countryman,
very good.
I appreciate your emotions. I understand what you are going through. We may not be in the same physical condition that you find yourself, but we are equally as emotionally broken down as you are. We feel for you. We just wish we could do this thing faster. We've been in this fight for 5 years. And remember, we are all contributing that money so that we can make life at the home front much better. This war is going to come and go. I would strongly suggest that you have to build your mental strength. It is not easy for us. We are not living here in isolation. We have people at the home front just like you. All my relatives are at the home front. So we feel for you too. So do not feel that we are sort of better off, or we are physically away from the center of the action, but we are not emotionally away. I can feel the emotions the way you talk, and I'm very, very sorry. But we are working. We are working day and night from a diplomatic perspective. We are working very hard to make sure that we bring the resources that we need in order to ward off these people who have come to occupy our land. We cannot let La Republic occupy our land. We cannot let those ministers, those chiefs who go and take money from other people, and you have to understand this. Chiefs are being given money and being given weapons to come and kill you. That's why we are here. That's why we are looking for a counter move to make sure that it doesn't happen. And I really appreciate. I can see the sadness in your language. But please bear with me.
Do you still have another question?
We are working. We are equally as unhappy as you are, and we are working very,
yes,
strongly towards the solution.
Please make your question. Yeah. What's your next question?
Baffles me a lot is the things that has been happening especially in the boys there they always go out and look for an attack, but when the attacks comes their way, they flee away. Then they will be killing innocent people for nothing, which they cannot defend. So we are just begging that if they want to go out, let them be sure that they can defend what they are for. Not that they should just go out and shake the La Republic militaries to come and kill innocent people for nothing.
Okay.
Because the last time they went to Bamis, they killed a lot of young men there. So that's what makes us feel reluctant in what is going on.
Okay, let me explain something to you very quickly. One thing that the young people are supposed to do, you don't sit and wait for another young person to fight for you. It's a self-defense. If you do not self-defend yourself, the oppressors will crush you down. So when the fighters are rushing and running, it will be smart for you to also rush. I think this is the last caller we're taking. We've gone way ahead. Some calls are still coming in. It's late already in the home front. It's about midnight already, and this program will be rebroadcast in the tomorrow morning you will have a rebroadcast. Tomorrow evening you have a rebroadcast. Those from the home front, you have the advantage to watch and rewatch this program. As I speak to you right now, the SOS has exceeded the time he was supposed to be on the platform. He has to go now. And SOS, I'm calling on you to give a closing remark to your people.
Thank you again. I send my heartfelt condolences to the family of Field Marshal Ishibu. And I also have I feel I feel the concern of the last caller who comes from DOP. I'm from Goktunja, so I probably know which where he comes from. We share the same county, so I understand what is going out there. And remember, Central State for self-defense is from Goktunja as well. So we are working very hard in the background to see the sort of counter moves that we're going to put in order to make sure that these hostilities can be reduced as much as possible. Today, I talked to you about the destructive economic policy that La République has adopted from the French following their defeat in Haiti over 200 years ago. And now they've come to a point where there's just nothing they can do. They can't run a government. They're all full of cartels. They can't build roads. They can't provide water. They can't provide sanitation. They can't provide electricity. They can't just do anything. But they believe that they can build an armament industry. Thanks to the French. The French have probably told them they're going to smuggle military weapons and assemble in La République and write made in Cameroon because it will be in English. He thinks that it's going to deceive Anglophones. That is not going to happen. The international community will be informed about this because they should be under sanctions. I won't be surprised if they're already under sanctions or they will soon be under sanctions. So this should be made clear. And the interim government is working very hard with international partners and to make sure that we elevate this conflict to a much higher level so that it can be looked at as something other than an internal conflict. And that's all I have to say. We all know that where we are today is due to Amazonians who sold us to La République and eventually to France. We have Peter Mafani Musonge, who sold the CDC, the land of the Bakweri people, the land of his ancestors. He felt that he could sell that for money, and you can see that he's so xenophobic. He doesn't want to see anybody who doesn't come from the Atlantic zone, which is not right. Nobody says that anywhere else in Amazonia. And we have to know, we can never, no right. We can never give the right for people to scare others in other parts of the world. Every country on earth is heterogeneous, or how do I put it? Is from from different backgrounds. We live in the United States. In every city, you have people from almost every part of the world, and that's the only way we can live in peace and harmony. Let alone in a small country like Amazonia, where if you come from a county which is away from where you live, people think that you are not supposed to be there. That is not correct. We can't accept that. And we have to tell our politicians who use it as a tool to divide us. That's not going to work. Okay, good night, everyone. And I look forward to talking to you again next week. Bye-bye.
Thank you, SOS, and bye-bye. Thank you, fellow Amazonians, for tuning in to this very special broadcast with the Secretary of State for Communications and ID. We've had a long day. Your concerns have been clarified, your questions. We are not taking questions again. We just closed the question session for tonight. We hope next week to have the SOS. By the time we come next week, there would have been tremendous progress when it comes to our self-defense apparatus and execution in the home front. By the time you come next week, something really great would have happened. I want to announce to you, resource mobilization is already working very hard on the ground. You heard today in the news elaborately how resource mobilization is beaming up the atmosphere, mobilizing, encouraging people to make sure that the the draft kicks off, draft 2022, and Bazonians have started working. There's a team of over 40 comrades that are strategizing and making sure that the draft kicks off this year very strong. Also, there is good news. The reappointment of Dr. Tita Emmanuel into office has brought back some steam at the Department of Health and Social Services. I was talking to Dr. Tita Emmanuel last night, and his vision is bigger this time around. He intends to start off with the outreaches in Nigeria like never before. And the refugees, some of them getting the news that Dr. Tita is back at the helm of the job, are very excited. And he has promised within now and maybe 2 weeks, he's going to be doing some outreach in one of the settlements in Nigeria. He's already working and strategizing and grouping donors to make sure that the resources or the budget or whatever is required is put together. Dr. Tita has shown interest to come live again for Moment of Truth, episode 2, season 2, that you can reverse it, season 2, episode 2. Remember, our discussion the last time was not concluded upon. This time, Dr. Tita wants to tell you exactly, wants to paint the picture of what they planned and what they are actually executing, so that we can understand the future of the Coupers, the lies they are purporting. Dr. Tita is a man who went into their camps and their ranks, got factual information, decided to stand for the people, and he has suddenly become their enemy. He's back on board. One of these days, I think by Friday, I would have given to you an announcement as to when Dr. Tita and I will be coming out for Moment of Truth, season 2, episode 2. Dr. Tita has promised that it will never be the same again. He has a vision to extend to larger grounds. He wants to reach out to many different refugees in different parts of the world. He wants to indulge in resettlement of our refugees from dangerous places like Africa into the Western world where they can have proper care. He is stepping up the game, like I tell you, like never before. He's building up a new team. He sent out a message the other day. I wish I could have it handy so I can read it. Appreciating Dr. Yaya for doing a great job when he was not in office, and congratulating her for the higher job and the bigger duty that she has taken as a chief of staff. That's a chief of staff of the interim government, managing almost every department and presenting proper reports, the office of the president. Fellow Amazonians, ladies and gentlemen, I told you when we started that do not be afraid of these warlords, these fraudsters. Do not be afraid of warlords. Their arrogance has made them to become warlords, and they have taken your civility for weakness. But if you could beat Cameroon, then you can beat them. You're going to pick them and send them out. They will not intimidate you even in your bedroom ever again. You will send them out of your communities and you whip them up. They cannot challenge you. On that note, I want to say it was Tarh Paddy King. Bye-bye and good night. I'm done.
Insobu life! Insobu life! Insobu life!
Tarh for brigade.
Insobu life! Life!
Tarh for brigade. Infime. You are under the command of Insobu. A very deadly attack here in Kumbu town. by General General Tokandu is life in the field. It's life in the field. That's what I do. That's what I do. That's what I do.
Sure.